in Konoha. At first, I annihilated the Sarutobi clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1, The Night of the Nine-Tailed Fox. I steal at Uchiha's wife. Fuck. Where is this? Kyuubi opened his eyes and looked at the collapsed houses around him and the strange woman lying on him without any breath of life. His head couldn't help but pierce, and he began to recall. Wasn't he just reading the fanfiction people in Naruto trick Zyuo's soul ring by the dog author King Gyo? He was about to reward the leader. Why did he suddenly come to this ghost place? Could it be travel? At this moment, in the distance, an angry roar resounded throughout the world, with a strong hatred and ominous breath in the voice. 9 huge fiery red tails opened in the air in an instant, setting off a violent wave of air. The surrounding houses were torn into pieces like thin paper, and wooden boards, dust, and stone chips flew all around. The villagers who were supposed to be immersed in a peaceful scene all screamed in fear and despair after seeing this scene. Nine-tailed. And Kyuubi finally knew where he had traveled to, the world of Naruto, Konoha village. And it started with the night of the Nine-tailed. His mother died to protect him, and his father, as a special jonin of Konoha, went to reinforce the third Hokage. As expected, he died. And this body is less than 6 years old, and his name is Fujiwara Chiya. Black hair, black pupils, handsome and prominent facial features, and an extremely perfect face. His appearance is so-so, even in the Uchiha clan, which is full of handsome men. He is one of the best. It's a rip-off. Don't play like this. He struggled to turn over the woman's body, looking at the sad face that had lost its vitality, but still had a kind smile. His heart couldn't help but stab, and his breathing was inexplicably choked. Was it because of the influence of the original owner? There was no time for Fujiwara Chiya to think about it. He began to flee in the opposite direction of the Nine-Tails. Along the way, there was wailing everywhere. There were villagers, ninjas, and a few people wearing Anbu costumes. He didn't care. The most urgent thing was to save his life. Until he passed an alley, he stopped in his tracks when he heard a girl crying, "Baga Sanodu-san." Looking for the sound, he saw a long-haired little girl of the same age in grey clothes with a flaming fan on her back crawling on the wall of the alley and crying. Seeing huge rocks falling around, the little girl could be hit at any time. Save or not save? This choice arose in Fujiwara Chiya's mind. But the next moment, he still went to save her without hesitation, gritted his teeth, rushed forward, took the girl's hand, and only said, "Follow me closely." Then, he rushed in the direction of the previous crowd without looking back. Not long after they left, a huge stone ruin fell from the sky, and the alley collapsed instantly. Fujiwara Chiya didn't breathe a sigh of relief until he ran to a safe area near the shelter. At this time, the girl's voice with a crying tone sounded behind him. Thank you. Fujiwara Chiya let go of the girl and turned around to see the girl's appearance. She had a good figure, beautiful long black hair, a teardrop mole under the right eye, delicate features, a pair of misty eyes, bright and energetic, as if she could speak, very spiritual. In general, she is a girl who is both cute and beautiful. "Izumi, my name is Uchiha Izumi. Can you tell me what your name is?" Uchiha Izumi gently wiped his tears and asked. Fujiwara Chiya thought for a moment and said the name of the original owner, Chiya, Fujiwara Chiya. At the same time, he secretly said in his heart, "Since I have occupied your body, then I will live with your identity in the future. Don't worry, your mother will bury you." Perhaps it was because the obsession in his heart was relieved. The memory of the original owner suddenly flooded into Kyuubi's mind, causing his forehead to sting slightly. "What's wrong with you, Chiya-kun?" Uchiha Izumi thought Fujiwara Chiya was injured and asked with some concern. "Nothing, let's go." Fujiwara Chiya shook his head, and the two continued to walk into the shelter. Not far away, Fujiwara Chiya heard the Uchiha clan of the Konoha Guard Corps and several ninjas dressed in Anbu clothes arguing. "Go back quickly, Lord Danzo has ordered that the Uchiha clan cannot approach the Nine-Tails." Damn it. Fujiwara Chiya took Uchiha Izumi and brushed past the Anbu. No, to be precise, the root ninja, and sneered in his heart. As expected, he is the existence second only to Sarutobi Hiruzen in Konoha F4. He is not good at anything, and he is the number one in internal fighting. At this time, he is still in internal reeling. The first largest village in the ninja world was played by them, and the talents withered. Not long after the two entered the shelter, another boy of the same age ran in, holding a baby in his arms. Oh my god, could it be the Uchiha's number one traitor, the filial son Uchiha Itachi, and the Uchiha's second pillar who feels that he is fine again, now that the sky is clear and the rain has stopped? Fujiwara Chiya thought to himself, and Uchiha Izumi's words confirmed his guess. Itachi Uchiha Izumi waved to Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi looked over here, holding Sasuke, and walked over into steps, asking calmly, "Are you okay?" "It's okay, it was Chiya who saved me," Uchiha Izumi replied, and then lowered his head again, with a lonely look on his face. "But my father and mother, my condolences." Uchiha Itachi comforted him, and based on the mentality of Fujiwara Chiya who saved his own people, he thanked him. "Thank you. You saved my people." Fujiwara Chiya didn't want to have too much contact with this filial son, who could even kill his own parents, so he just nodded, found a distant empty seat and sat down, without saying much. "What happened to Chiya-kun?" Looking at the figure of Fujiwara Chiya leaving, Izumi asked Uchiha Itachi beside her in confusion. Uchiha Itachi was a thoughtful person since childhood. He saw that Fujiwara Chiya was obviously resistant to him. He thought that the other party was concerned about his identity as a member of the Uchiha clan, so he did not point it out and replied, "Maybe it's because he just lost his relatives." At the same time, he added in his heart that there were large bloodstains on his body, but he was not injured. It should be that his family protected him. Thinking so in his heart, Uchiha Itachi looked up at the blood-red full moon and fell into deep thought again. What is the meaning of life? Fujiwara Chiya, who had already sat down on the other side, saw Uchiha Itachi thinking about life again, and couldn't help rolling his eyes. He was about to complain, what was wrong with taking care of a filial son? The system prompt sounded in my mind. Ding. The lolly system is binding. The system binding is successful. As long as the host captures the heart of the lolly he likes, he will get a reward. In view of the host's difficult situation, a novice benefit will be issued to help the host overcome the difficulties. Help the host to become the strongest lolly control. 1. Intercept Uchiha Izumi. Reward, Bleach World, Zanpaku to Kyokusu Jetsu. 2. Leave it alone and let Uchiha Izumi fall in love with Uchiha Itachi as in the original. Reward, a designated theft card of Naruto World. Chapter 2, Mirror Flower, Water Moon, Kung Fu and Sage Mode. System, novel readers know it well. The first two books by King Gyo Laozi, Daoluo, Stealing the 10,000 Worlds System, and Fighting Through the Heavens, Yabeo's System, are all system stories. The protagonist uses the system to pretend to be awesome and get slapped in the face. In the end, he has many wives and concubines, and he can defeat everyone and everything, reaching the pinnacle of his life. But what is this Lalita control? Is it to make him commit crimes? A person, a wife, or a queen would be fine. However, this Mirror Flower and Water Moon is not bad. It is the Zanpaku of Aizen Sasuke, the big boss of the Bleach world. With it, not to mention reaching the level of Aizen, at least, few people in this world can hurt him. Just when Kainai was complaining in his heart, Uchiha Izumi came over and sat down beside him. "Kainai-kun, what are you thinking about?" "No, nothing." Kainai looked at Uchiha Izumi with a guilty look. "Kainai-kun, I just heard from Itachi that your family. Actually, when you encounter such a thing, you don't have to hold it in your heart, you can cry. My parents and they also." Uchiha Izumi comforted her. Although she said so, she started crying first. At this moment, the system prompt sounded again. Ding. As the strongest lolly control, how can you watch the little lolly in front of you sad? 1. Comfort the little lolly and reward the bad man's world skills. Shiangangju. 2. Leave it alone and reward a pair of old underwear of Danzo from the Naruto world. Can the skills of the martial arts world also be used in this world? But what the hell is this Danzo? Kainai's mouth twitched fiercely, and he had no choice but to comfort her. He gently stroked Uchiha Izumi's little head and said softly, "It's okay. Cry. It's okay to cry. Everything will be fine after crying. I think if your family is still alive, they will be happy for you to see that you are safe and sound. He didn't want the underwear of that old thief Danzo. Hearing Kainai's words, Kwan couldn't hold back any longer and burst into tears in Kainai's arms. The refugees around heard the girl's heart-wrenching cry, and they all thought of their lost relatives and began to cry at the same time. For a while, in the huge shelter, everyone from the 80-year-old old lady to Uchiha Itachi was howling. At this moment, the system upgrade sound rang in Kainai's mind again. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the task, and the reward is Zanpakuto Kyoka Sujetsu. May I ask if you want to collect it now? Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the task, and the reward is Shiangangju. May I ask if you want to collect it now? You intercepted it so soon. Kainai looked at the crying little loli in his arms, and then looked at Uchiha Itachi, who was anxiously coaxing Itachi in the distance, and couldn't help but be a little stunned. What he didn't know was that the reason why Uchiha Izumi in the original novel liked Uchiha Itachi was not because the latter was so outstanding, but more because Uchiha Itachi suddenly appeared like a hero and saved her when she was most helpless and desperate on the night of the nine-tailed fox. The phrase hero saves beauty is never out of date. Not to mention Uchiha Izumi, who is in the period of emotional ignorance. Don't withdraw it for now. He didn't know how the reward would be issued. If there was suddenly an extra Zanpakuto and a secret book, Konoha would definitely target him. You know, in order to monitor Uchiha, there are many root ninjas hiding around here. Danzo, that old guy, likes to collect special abilities the most. After a while, Uchiha Izumi almost stopped crying. With a slightly red face, he stood up from Kainai's arms, and there was still a hint of tears in his voice. I'm sorry, I was supposed to comfort you, but I started crying first. Kainai shook his head, saying it was okay, and looked up at the direction of the nine-tails roar until the sound suddenly disappeared. Then he retracted his gaze and murmured in his heart, it looks like it's almost over. In the end, the Nine-Tails rebellion ended at the cost of the sacrifice of the 4th Hokage and his wife and countless ninjas. Since then, the 4th Hokage of Konoha Village, the golden flash of the ninja world, and the legendary ninja Minato Namikaze passed away. It is said that in order to protect the village, he sealed the powerful Nine-Tails that almost destroyed Konoha at the cost of his life. The entire ninja world was deeply moved by his spirit of paying all costs for the village. Of course, being moved is moving, and there must be many who gloat over others' misfortunes. For example, the 3rd Tsuchikage Inoki, the 4th Kazekage Rasa, and the Konoha main village ninja Danzo. These people are eager for the 4th Hokage to sacrifice. The first two are happy that Konoha's power has weakened, while Danzo is purely because the 4th Hokage died, and he feels that he has a chance to take the position. At the same time, in Konoha village, the conflict between the Uchiha clan, which had finally begun to ease the relationship with Konoha due to the 4th Hokage's rise to power, broke out again. Among them, the Konoha high-level officials headed by Danzo publicly expressed strong doubts about the Uchiha clan. They accused the Uchiha clan of controlling the Nine-Tails and causing the Nine-Tails rebellion. The Uchiha clan's clanland was forcibly moved to the edge of Konoha, away from the center of the village, and even added Anbu surveillance. The 3rd Hokage knew that it would cause Uchiha's dissatisfaction with Konoha, but still chose to acquiesce to Danzo's approach. Since then, the conflict between the Uchiha clan and Konoha has gradually fallen into a point that is almost irreconcilable. The next day, Konoha held a grand funeral for the 4th Hokage and his wife and many sacrifice ninjas. After Sarutobi Hiruzen's passionate and tragic speech, Konoha began to rebuild in full swing. Kainai was assigned a separate residence because his parents were both ninjas and his father died in the process of blocking the Nine-Tails. He was not sent to an orphanage like ordinary people, so he was assigned to a separate residence. He can receive a regular subsidy every month until he graduates from the ninja academy. However, Kainai doesn't care about these. Knowing the darkness of Konoha, he has no sense of belonging to Konoha. As soon as he was assigned to live, he closed the doors and windows and silently called out the system in his heart. System, extract the mirror flower water moon and Shiangangju for me. After speaking, Kainai only felt a flash of golden light in front of his eyes, subconsciously closed his eyes, and opened them again. A samurai sword with a sheath appeared in front of him, and the handle was light green. As for his mind, there were more methods to use the mirror flower water moon and the martial arts Sharinganju in the world of the bad people. Kanai first tried to use the mirror flower water moon, and found that, as long as it was released, it would consume his chakra. With his original body, who had just learned the chakra extraction method not long ago, and was only 6 years old, he could not support the continuous release of the mirror flower water moon. Then he tried the Sharinganju again, and his face suddenly showed an unconcealable joy. Chapter 3 Goodbye Fountain, Reset. This technique is really magical. It is not like ordinary chakra, which extracts the physical and mental energy generated by 130 trillion cells in the body, but absorbs the natural energy from the outside world. In the words of the martial arts world, it is ki. So, is this also equivalent to an alternative sage mode? And it can be stored in the body, and taken out at any time. The higher the level of the technique, the purer and more massive the natural energy that can be stored. It is not like Naruto and Jiraiya, who need to temporarily gather natural energy to use it. Moreover, Sharinganju has a feature that ordinary sage mode does not have, that is, after practicing to the highest level, it comes with a flash skill that is almost instantaneous, a protective ki, and various powerful attacking moves. Kanai couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He estimated that he had picked up a treasure this time. Not only did he get land as Zanpakuto with complete hypnotic ability, but he could also activate the technique to enter the sage mode. After getting familiar with the various moves that come with Sharinganju, his strength will definitely be greatly improved in a short period of time. By then, he will have a certain self-protection power, which is comfortable. But before that, you have to hold back. You must not let Konoha Ref4 know, otherwise you might be dragged to slice by old dog Danzo. Next, just live as an ordinary ninja for the time being. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye it is the day for the ninja school to open. In order to make up for the combat power lost in the night of the nine-tailed fox, the ninja school began to recruit a large number of students. As long as there are children of school age, they can apply. After some review, the school will issue an admission notice. As a descendant of ninjas, Fujiwara Chiya naturally received an admission notice. This made him a little excited. Ninja school is a place to cultivate relevant ninja skills. With a system, he will certainly be able to gain powerful combat power in the future. But powerful combat power still needs to be learned how to use it. Necessary ninja knowledge is still indispensable. He doesn't want to end up like Kaguya, with the world's best strength, but a negative combat IQ. As the saying goes, good things come in pairs. On this day, Fujiwara Chiya turned 6 years old. The skill Sharinganju finally achieved some success, and reached the first level. In an instant, Fujiwara Chiya felt his perception soared. He saw the frolicking on the street, Naruto being abused by the nanny, Kakashi standing in front of Obito's grave, and Danzo arguing with the third generation for Naruto's ownership. Is this the first level of Sharinganju? And this perception, I guessed it right. When the skill reaches the first level, as long as the skill is activated, you can enter the so-called sage mode in the Naruto world. Fujiwara Chiya couldn't help but feel proud. Then he tested the mirror flower and water moon, and surprisingly found that in the sage mode entered by activating the skill, the mirror flower and water moon were enough to be released continuously for a whole day. That is, when activating the skill, you must pay attention to hiding your breath. Otherwise there is still a risk of being seen through by the perception type ninjas around you. After all, the amount of chakra in the sage mode is far beyond the ordinary people. Of course, for him who has the skill, hiding his breath is very simple. I just don't know what the effect will be when releasing ninjutsu in the form of skills in the sage mode. It's a pity that my parents died in the Nine-Tails Rebellion. I only know some basic chakra refining. Not to mention ninjutsu, I didn't even have a penny left. Even if I did, it wouldn't be my turn. It was probably taken by Sarutobi Hiruzen to rebuild the village. Thinking of this, Kanai walked to the mirror and changed into a new set of clothes that he had never worn before. The boy in the mirror was wearing a white slim-fitting long-sleeved t-shirt and a pair of black casual pants with a medium-length black hair. With handsome facial features, he looked like a handsome little boy. It's really me. Looking at himself in the mirror, Fujiwara Chiya boasted shamelessly, took the backpack issued by the ninja school, walked out of the room, and rushed to the ninja academy. At this time, many parents had brought their children to the ninja academy to register. Fujiwara Chiya's arrival did not attract too many people's attention, because their attention was all attracted by Uchiha Itachi. Except for a very small number of children, most parents looked at Uchiha Itachi with more or less resistance in their eyes. Obviously, the Uchiha clan controlling the Nine Tails to attack Konoha has begun to be deeply rooted in people's hearts under the deliberate propaganda of a certain Nabokage. Just like Konoha White Fang in the past. And the strongest Hokage of all generations, the third Hokage, who has returned to the position of Hokage, still maintains a mentality of neither opposing nor agreeing. He does not care about anything that does not concern him. To some extent, this is the result of the exchange of interests between the third Hokage and Danzo. The third Hokage returned to the Hokage under great pressure, and correspondingly, Danzo could not get nothing. Together with Mito Kadoen and Utatane Koharu, he formed the Konoha Elders group, and became a member of the Konoha F4, which is notorious in the hearts of many fans. There is a saying that the Uchiha clan has the final say on whether the ninja world is in chaos, and the Konoha F4 has the final say on whether Konoha is in chaos. These guys have pioneered the involution of the ninja world. At the same time, Danzo's power in Konoha began to gradually reach its peak. As for Danzo's small actions, as long as they did not affect the interests of his Sarutobi family, and were not too excessive, he generally would not care. In this regard, Fujiwara Chiya has long been accustomed to it, and he will not speak up for the Uchiha clan. Next, he just needs to take care of himself. Before he has enough strength, he can be an ordinary ninja academy student. The days to come will depend on fate. If Konoha can't accommodate him, he can just leave. Anyway, for him who has the mirror flower and water moon, defecting from Konoha is not too difficult, and so far, he has no worries here, let alone the so-called sense of belonging. Of course, there will be exceptions soon. Fujiwara Chiya walked through the crowd, and handed the admission notice to the two Chunin teachers in charge of registration. Just when he finished the registration, a petite figure appeared behind him, followed by a gentle and tender voice. Chiya-kun, long time no see. Ah, it's been a long time. Fujiwara Chiya took the class information card given by the teacher and turned around, only to see Uchiha Izumi with his hands behind his back, as if holding something, his upper body slightly leaning forward, looking at him curiously. What a bland reply. Izumi puffed up her cheeks, then took a step forward, her face slightly blushing as she compared the heights of the two, and said with some surprise, Chiya-kun, have you grown taller? PS. Please vote for recommendation and monthly pass. Chapter 4 Who would make a seal, if they were serious? Reset. Yes, I didn't pay much attention. Fujiwara Chiya would not tell her that it was because of the practice, that his physical fitness and spiritual energy were improved by leaps and bounds, far exceeding that of ordinary people. If he were to refine chakra like an ordinary ninja, at the age of only 6, he could easily reach half a card of chakra, not to mention a card of chakra. If he entered the sage mode, the chakra amount could at least soar tenfold. This is just because of his young age and low level of practice. In the future, it will only increase exponentially. PS. 1 card equals the amount of chakra possessed by a single Kami Kakashi. Of course there is. You were a little shorter than me before, but now you have surpassed me. Izumi used an extremely exaggerated tone, and at this time, Fujiwara Chiya finally saw what Uchiha Izumi was carrying, which was 2 lunch boxes. Sensing Fujiwara Chiya's gaze, Izumi's pretty face blushed again, and she tightened her grip on the lunchbox bag, looking away with a bit of pride. Don't get me wrong, I just happened to make an extra lunch this morning, and I'm definitely not worried that you won't have anything to eat at noon. Thank you very much. Fujiwara Chiya's heart warmed slightly. He did forget to prepare lunch in advance, and the school doesn't provide lunch. Yeah. Izumi nodded heavily, and a happy smile suddenly appeared on his face. Let's go, then. Let's go to the classroom together. Soon, the two arrived at the classroom. Chiya pushed open the door of the classroom, and saw that the room was almost full. The arrival of the two did not cause much response, because most of the people in the field were attracted by Uchiha Itachi who arrived before them. Indistinctly, the girl's deliberately suppressed exclamation could be heard. Wow, Uchiha Itachi-kun is so cute. Yes, I heard that he is the son of the head of the Uchiha clan. Girls in the world of Naruto mature early, just like Yamanaka Ino and Hiruno Sakura in the original work, who were like sisters, but their friendship broke down because of pursuing Uchiha number 2. Listening to the discussions of the girls around him, Fujiwara Chiya's mouth twitched fiercely, and he couldn't help but complain in his heart that these people were too crazy. Uchiha Izumi, who was standing next to Fujiwara Chiya, thought that Fujiwara Chiya was envious of Uchiha Itachi and comforted him at the right time. Well, I think Chiya is more handsome than Itachi. Recalling the figure of Fujiwara Chiya who saved her without hesitation a month ago, Uchiha Izumi's face couldn't help but blush. Let's find a seat first. Fujiwara Chiya complained in his heart that no one can comfort people like you. It's them. At this time, Uchiha Itachi also saw Fujiwara Chiya and Uchiha Izumi, wondering whether to go up and say hello. He hesitated for a moment and finally did not go. He was not good at expressing his feelings, and he was not familiar with them. After a while, the teacher came over. He was a slightly fat chunin with a beard. He didn't say too much nonsense. He first wrote his name on the blackboard and introduced himself. Then he asked the students to introduce themselves one by one. For a while, almost the entire classroom continued in a happy atmosphere until everyone introduced themselves. The teacher arranged for people to distribute textbooks. Modern History of Konoha, Will of Fire, Detailed Explanation of Chakra Refining, 3 Body Techniques, Basic Training Methods of Physical Techniques, Ninja Tool Throwing from Beginner to Mastery and so on. In addition to these, some books such as Human Geography and Mathematics were also distributed. These textbooks will accompany every student in the next 6 years of ninja school life. Of course, if you can graduate early, it will be an exception. As a senior Hokage, Fujiwara Chiya first flipped through the Modern History of Konoha and took a casual look. Just a glance and the corners of his mouth twitched fiercely. The first generation of Hokage pacified the troubled times and established the ninja village, which was briefly mentioned. The second generation of Hokage ended the First World War, but it was only mentioned briefly. The Uchiha clan joined forces with the Senju clan to establish Konoha, and it was not mentioned at all. Only recently, the fourth generation of Hokage who sacrificed for Konoha occupied a page, and it was added temporarily. The rest is all about how great our strongest Hokage in history the third generation is, what ninjutsu doctor, ninja hero, and how he turned the tide in the second and third wars, led Konoha out of the predicament and finally won. It's just a boast. Of course, although shameless, the effect is surprisingly good. After reading it, almost most of the civilian students almost fell out of their eyes. That admiration, especially Uchiha Itachi, who had no lack of ninja knowledge since childhood, could not put down the Will of Fire and Modern History of Konoha, especially the Will of Fire. Uchiha Itachi's eyes were shining when he read it. It was from this moment that Uchiha Itachi began to look at everything around him with the so-called Naruto thinking. He began to have a rebellious mentality towards his own family. In terms of the conflict between the Uchiha clan and Konoha, he always thought that the arrogance of the Uchiha clan was hopeless. But he ignored everything that the Konoha high-level officials did to the Uchiha. Although he gradually experienced more and understood a lot later, he confessed to Sasuke before his soul ascended to heaven. Unfortunately, it was too late, and the Uchiha clan was almost dead. In this regard, Fujiwara Chiya can only say that the poisonous teaching materials are harmful to people. If Fujiwara Chiya had not come from across time, I'm afraid he would really believe this bad old man. Similarly, the brainwashing book The Will of Fire was thrown aside after he hurriedly read it. Compared to the history that was deliberately exaggerated or even tampered with, he was more interested in the ninja knowledge such as detailed explanation of chakra refining, 3 body techniques, basic training methods of physical techniques, and ninja tool throwing from beginner to mastery. It was noon soon, and Fujiwara Chiya and Uchiha Izumi met on the rooftop to have dinner together. After dinner, Fujiwara Chiya ate everything and shamelessly asked the rich woman of the Uchiha clan for ninjutsu. Ninjutsu? Uchiha Izumi put down the lunchbox in his hand and asked with some doubts, didn't the teacher explain the 3 body technique to us this morning? Too simple. Fujiwara Chiya operated the skills, sensed the surroundings, and after confirming that no one was watching him around, he issued a Versailles declaration and released the 3 body techniques to Izumi one by one. Since practicing Sharinganju, he can learn the low-level ninjutsu such as the 3 body technique almost immediately. Even without relying on skills, using ordinary chakra, it can be performed. Not only that, he was also surprised to find that, after he used the ordinary chakra refining method to perform the 3 body technique once, he could activate the technique to perform the sage mode and imitate the chakra running route of the 3 body technique, so he no longer needed to rely on hand seals to perform it. This moment made him a little excited. Then wouldn't he be able to clap his hands like the first generation Hokage and Uchiha Madara in the future and make whatever he shouted come true? The first generation Hokage, Madana, do you make hand seals? Uchiha Madara smiled. I don't make hand seals. Huh? Do you make hand seals? The first generation Hokage shook his head. Isn't it just clapping your hands and making whatever you shout come true? Who would make hand seals? Kisame, Zabuza, Kakashi, they said they had fainted in the toilet. Chapter 5 Konoha F4. Wow, Chiya-kun, you are amazing. Seeing that Fujiwara Chiya actually learned the 3 body technique on the first day, Uchiha Izumi was stunned and couldn't help but praise him again and again. Fujiwara Chiya quickly covered Uchiha Izumi's mouth and made a shushing gesture. Please keep it a secret for me, I don't want others to know. Izumi, whose mouth was covered, nodded with a red face. Of course, you can. But why doesn't Chiya-kun want others to know? With Chiya-kun's handsomeness, he should be as popular as Itachi-kun. She said the latter sentence in her heart. Because this way, too many people will stare at me, and I won't be able to eat at your place anymore. Fujiwara Chiya found a random excuse to prevaricate. He can't tell you that he doesn't want to enter the site of Konoha F4 before he has enough strength to protect himself. Is that so? The speaker was unintentional, but the listener was intentional. Hearing this, Uchiha Izumi's face became even redder, and even her neck was stained with a layer of pink. She continued, I do have a lot of ninjutsu in my family, but most of them are forbidden to be passed on to outsiders within the clan. If I give them to you, I'm afraid my clan members will cause trouble for you. At this point, she hesitated for a moment. How about this? I'll give you the fire style Great Fireball, Shadow Clone Technique, and Instant Body Technique first. These are some of the more popular ninjutsu in Konoha. Even if they are seen by my clan members in the future, they won't say much. Thank you very much. Fujiwara Chiya excitedly held Uchiha Izumi's hand. These can be said to be the ninjutsu he needs most so far. Especially the shadow clone, which can use chakra to create a physical clone, with consciousness independent of the caster's body and a certain ability to resist blows. After the clone is released, the memory and experience of the clone will return to the body. It's simply a cheating device. There is also the instant body technique. If it is combined with the advanced flash skills of Sharinganju, it may become the second person in the ninja world in physical skills. As for the first person, the future might die. With the power of the 8 gates, I'm afraid that no one can be his opponent in physical skills. In peacetime, ninja schools will teach some necessary common sense while cultivating qualified genin. In the morning, the teacher just briefly explained how to refine chakra and demonstrated the 3 body technique in order to arouse the students' interest in learning. The formal class was in the afternoon. Although there are many wealthy children such as the Uchiha clan in the class, the first lesson of the ninja school still starts with teaching how to refine chakra. Towards dusk, the day's course ended. On the second day, Fujiwara Chiya received the Great Fireball, Shadow Clone, and Instant Body Technique from Uchiha Izumi, and then looked through the first year's course schedule, and found that most of them were about lurking, and trap making, and some common ninja knowledge, without any actual combat. It is entirely possible to use shadow clones. After learning how to use shadow clones that night, he rarely went to school. As for the original body, he found a sparsely populated grove and began his training. Similarly, Uchiha Itachi also did not go to the ninja school. From the next day, this guy began to use shadow clones to teach. Although Kai and I did not like this guy very much, but it must be admitted that Uchiha Itachi is indeed a true genius. He can learn almost anything in one go, and even surpasses his teacher. If Fujiwara Chiya had not read the original work, I'm afraid he would have thought he was also a time traveler, or the kind of person who started with Long A Ocean. 1 year later. Konoha Hokage Building. Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Danzo, Mitokado N, Utatane Koharu, all members of Konoha F4, are present and sit in the leadership seats. Below them is the Chunin teacher who is responsible for teaching Fujiwara Chiya and Uchiha Itachi's class. Just like in the original work, Uchiha Itachi accidentally clashed with a senior student, exposing his shadow clone, and his title of genius was confirmed. At the end of the school year, the day before the 6th grade graduation, he was reported to Konoha F4 by the Chunin mentor, and recommended for early graduation. Fujiwara Chiya, who was familiar with the original plot, learned from the shadow clone, and used his original body, to go to school during that time, in order to avoid entering the field of vision of Konoha F4. Genius? Danzo said, his face calm, his right eye was covered by a bandage, and nothing could be seen, but his left eye showed a very special emotional fluctuation, with fear, cunning, and a hint of murderous intent. The overall look was very gloomy, and there was a sense of conspiracy at all times. As the most staunch supporter of the Uchiha clan who was born evil, he hated the Uchiha more than anyone else, and at the same time, envied the Uchiha more than anyone else. Envy the unique blood of the Uchiha, the Sharingan. Yes, Danzo-sama. Not only did he learn the clone technique in last year's graduation exam, he also learned the shadow clone technique. He is also very good in all other aspects. There is no point in keeping him in the ninja school. The Chunin teacher replied respectfully. He stood up straight, his throat rolling, swallowed hard, and did not dare to look at Danzo. It was obvious that the leader of the root organization, known as the dark side of the ninja world, had reached the point where his fellow villagers were afraid of him. This was also the reason why Danzo was destined not to become Hokage. Of course, he himself did not realize it at all. But he is only a first-year student, right? Sarutobi Hiruzen was a man who stuck to the rules. Now that it was a peaceful era, he did not want Uchiha Itachi to graduate so soon. Yes. The Chunin teacher heard the dissatisfaction of the third generation and responded weakly. At this time, Danzo, who always liked to sing the opposite tune with the third generation, retorted, "Isn't this good? It's not like there is no precedent. But the times are different now. It was wartime." The third generation wanted to say something, but was immediately blocked by Danzo's words. Danzo said to the Chunin teacher, "He is a genius, right? I have never seen a student like that." The Chunin teacher gave a positive answer. Itachi's graduation is also for his own good. The third Hokage heard this, half lowered his head, his eyes covered by the bamboo hat, and repeated a sentence without objecting. Next, the Chunin teacher reported some of the more outstanding students as usual, most of whom were from famous families. During this time, the third Hokage remained silent until he mentioned Fujiwara Chiya, a commoner. He finally raised his head and asked, "Is it the child of the Fujiwara family?" The Chunin teacher said, "Yes, Hokage-sama. In the first grade, besides Itachi, the orphan of Fujiwara's special Jonin has the best talent in the class. Although he is far inferior to Uchiha Itachi, he is still excellent in all aspects. As long as he is trained, he will have a bright future. So it seems that Fujiwara gave birth to a good child." The third Hokage said thoughtfully. No one knew what he was thinking. Danzo and others completely focused their attention on Uchiha Itachi at the beginning. They were somewhat disdainful of the so-called commoner genius like Fujiwara Chiya. Of course, these are what Fujiwara Chiya is willing to see. Chapter 6 1 year later, 3 generations of attention. Ninja School. Kanai-kun, have you heard? Itachi-kun seems to be graduating early. He graduated after only 1 year of enrollment. It's amazing. Uchiha Izumi looked at Uchiha Itachi, who was the focus of thousands of people outside the window, and said to Fujiwara Chiya beside him, "It's really amazing." Fujiwara Chiya praised without hesitation. Unknowingly, the two have been together for a year. Although Fujiwara Chiya rarely comes to school, through the memory of the shadow clone, he deeply understands that this is a gentle, kind and considerate little girl. At this time, there are still 6 years before the Uchiha clan is exterminated. Fujiwara Chiya will not be so saintly as to save the entire Uchiha clan. Even if he goes to save it, people may not be willing to believe you. But if Uchiha Izumi is allowed to die at the hands of Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Obito, two psychopaths, it would be too wrong. Perhaps, by that time, it is time to leave this village. After all, his original plan was to join the Akatsuki group. That Xiaonan, Red Cloud and Black Robe, Fuji, have been craving for a long time. And Chiya-kun is also very powerful. If Chiya-kun takes the graduation exam now, he will definitely graduate early. At this moment, Uchiha Izumi's voice interrupted Fujiwara Chiya's thoughts. You flatter me too much. Fujiwara Chiya once again acted as Versailles. In terms of talent alone, Uchiha Itachi is a true genius. His combat IQ is even higher. If it weren't for the bonus of martial arts, Fujiwara Chiya believes that he is far inferior to Uchiha Itachi. The only shortcoming is emotional intelligence, which is almost zero. It's no wonder that in the original work, while being feared by Obito, he was played around by Konoha F4. No, Chiya-kun is really powerful. Uchiha Izumi whispered to Chiya's ear, and his warm breath accompanied by a pearl-like voice entered his ears. Chiya-kun should be the same as Itachi, and has been using shadow clones to learn. How did you find out? Chiya looked at Uchiha Izumi in some astonishment. Although he knew that the other party opened the Sharingan because of the loss of his parents on the night of the Ninetales, the Sharingan did not have the ability to identify the shadow clone and could only be inferred by comparing it with the original body. But he had almost never shown his original body and shadow clone at the same time in front of outsiders. Kainai, a girl's heart is always more delicate than you think. Uchiha Izumi took a step back, closed his left eye slightly, curved into a shallow crescent, and said with his red lips, "Then tell me, am I real now?" Kainai was obviously interested, with a faint smile on his face. Uchiha Izumi covered his red lips slightly with his jade hand, looked Kainai up and down again, pondered for a moment, and said affirmatively, "Really, no matter how similar the clone is, it is still a clone after all. Only the eyes can't deceive." Just like Kainai-kun, his eyes are different from usual during this period. He must be worried about being exposed after seeing Itachi-kun was discovered as a shadow clone, so he used his real body to go to school. You are really smart, but perhaps only you can discover this. Who would pay attention to me every day like you? Kainai showed a gentle smile on his face and his right hand inadvertently stroked Uchiha Izumi's little head. This made Uchiha Izumi blush. Kainai smiled awkwardly and quickly withdrew his hand. Sorry, because Izumi is too cute. I can't help it. Uchiha Izumi nodded with sobs, turned his back to Kainai, raised a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, and murmured in a voice that only he could hear, "Kainai is really too cunning." The actions of the two were seen by several girls in the corner of the classroom, and their hearts were instantly filled with gossip. Wow. Kainai and Izumi are so sweet. Why didn't I notice Kainai, a handsome guy, before? Kawaii. That's because you only have eyes for Itachi. I have been obsessed with Kainai and Izumi for a long time. Is it true? Tell me quickly. I want to listen to. The exclusive office of the Hokage. Sir, this is the information you asked for about Fujiwara Kainai and his parents. An Anbu ninja handed the information to the third generation respectfully. Name, Fujiwara Chiya. Gender, male. Date of birth, November 10th. Parents, Fujiwara Ichiro, deceased. Fujiwara Rika, deceased. Blood type, O ninja way, protect Konoha, don't want to see bloodshed again. Hobbies, help old ladies cross the street. Most admired person, the third Hokage. Dream, to become a great ninja like the third Hokage. Instructor's evaluation, he is an excellent civilian genius. If he is trained, his achievements will not be inferior to those of famous children. The third Hokage took the information and took a quick look. Overall, he was quite satisfied. Whether it was shuriken, kunai throwing or other aspects, he could reach an excellent level and basically had no shortcomings. Although he was far less dazzling than Uchiha Itachi, don't forget that Fujiwara Chiya was just a civilian. First, he didn't have the excellent bloodline of Uchiha Itachi, and second, he didn't have the training of a big family. It was already very good to grow to this point. This is not the point. The most important thing is that he saw the will of fire in this young man. Those who can admire Sarutobi Hiruzen and dream of becoming a great ninja like him must have a high level of ideological awareness. And what he needs is this kind of civilian genius. The Fujiwara family gave birth to a good son. The third generation lit his pipe, puffed out smoke, and sighed in his heart. After a moment, he asked again, how are this child's interpersonal relationships? Basically, he can get along well with his classmates, but at this point, the voice of the Anbu ninja stopped abruptly. Go on. The third generation knocked on his pipe, raised his eyebrows imperceptibly, and his emotions were not revealed. Fujiwara Chiya seems to have a good relationship with a little girl from the Uchiha family. It is said that Fujiwara Chiya once saved the little girl from the Uchiha family on the night of the Ninetales invasion, and the two became acquainted because of this. Nowadays, the relationship between the Uchiha clan and Konoha is becoming more and more tense, and Uchiha is now a sensitive topic. Is that so? The Sandai's brows relaxed instantly, and he suddenly had an idea in his mind. Perhaps, he could use the child's admiration for him to brainwash the child. Oh no, enlighten him, and let him find out information about the Uchiha clan for Konoha. Observe whether he is suspected of rebellion. But before that, the child needs to become a real ninja. Thinking of this, the Sandai said to the previous Anbu ninja, let the school take more care of that child, and try to let him grow up earlier. The village needs such talents. Yes, the Anbu ninja responded respectfully, performed the instant body technique, and suddenly disappeared in the room. Looking at the place where the Anbu ninja disappeared, the Sandai lit the cigarette butt again, exhaled a puff of white smoke, and sighed, peace. Chapter 7 Hinata can't escape. After Uchiha Itachi graduated, Kainai's life returned to peace again. In addition to training, he often went shopping with Uchiha Izumi, and they would give each other some gifts. Of course, in most cases, it was Uchiha Izumi who gave Kainai gifts, such as his clothes, which were all given by Izumi. There is no way, who told our classmate Kainai to be poor, relying on the subsidy given by Konoha every day to make ends meet. If it weren't for the little rich woman Izumi, the family would be so poor that they would almost be unable to open the pot. As time passed, the relationship between the two became better and better. Kainai clearly felt that Izumi gradually developed a strange feeling for him, and he himself did not hate it. In the spirit of letting things take their course, he thought that maybe it would be good to live like this in the future, and lived peacefully. Unknowingly, Fujiwara Kainai was already 11 years old. It was almost time to graduate from the ninja school. He grew a lot taller, and his skills were also upgraded to the 4th level. Shaiyangangju was considered to be a success, and his body was able to store a very large amount of fairy chakra. In other aspects, he has also made great progress. During the 5 years in the ninja school, he used the shadow clone technique to fully integrate the various martial arts moves recorded in the Shaiyangangju. He went to the ninja tool shop to buy chakra test paper, and found that he had chakras of both fire and thunder attributes. After much persuasion, he asked for various ninjutsu collections from Uchiha Izumi's home. In his words, mine is yours, and yours is mine. At most, I won't use the unique ninjutsu of the Uchiha clan before I reach the legal age. This scared Uchiha Izumi so much that he ran away with a blushing face. But the next day, she carried a small bag and delivered the ninjutsu scroll to Kainai. The only pity is that her family only collected a few fire escape ninjutsu and handwritings of practicing the changes in the nature of fire attribute chakra, as well as some illusions and summoning techniques that require the Sharingan to use, but no thunder escape. In desperation, Kainai had to practice the changes in the nature of chakra of fire escape according to the notes given by Uchiha Izumi. By the way, he also perfected the instant body technique, combining it with the flash skill of Shaiyangangju, creating a new instant body. But fortunately, there is always a way out. When he was 9 years old, Kainai met a little loli. The system issued a task and learned the perfect thunder attribute chakra nature change. It was a winter day covered in silver. The cold weather with wind and snow made the streets empty. At that time, Kainai had just spent the new year with Kwan at home. After sending Kwan home, on the way back, he passed by a corner of the snow-covered Konoha and met a beautiful girl with pure white eyes. She was wearing a black dress, running wildly in the snow with a crying voice, and fell to the ground. Her face was full of fear and hesitation. Finally, she squatted in the snow and shivered, covering her face and sobbing. Kainai didn't think much at the time, and carried her on his back, and sent her home. It was not until he saw the two big characters Hinata on the gate that he learned that this little loli was Hinata. At the same time, he also knew that this day was the funeral of his uncle Hyuga Hayashi and the death anniversary of Hyuga Niji's father. In a trance, Kainai recalled the peace agreement signed by Konoha and Kyuubi some time ago. Sarutobi Hiruzen, as the person who promoted this contract at the time, specially asked people to hold a warm welcome ceremony. The whole village was lively, but unfortunately, his actions were regarded as weak by the Kyuubi. That night, they ran to the Hyuga family and kidnapped Hinata, who was only 3 years old, in an attempt to seize the Hyuga clan's blood limit white eyes. The result is self-evident. The people sent were killed by the head of the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hayashi, although failed. But the fact is, just as the Kyuubi expected, Sarutobi Hiruzen is indeed a weak person. Faced with the Kyuubi not only did not admit to seizing the white eyes, but also did not give up, but instead accused Konoha of killing the Kyuubi, threatening to go to war, and let Konoha hand over the murderer Hyuga Hayashi, trying to continue to get involved in the white eyes. The third generation, who had always been weak to the outside world, and attacked hard at home, compromised again. Eventually, it led to the tragedy of Hyuga Hisashi dying for his brother. Today is also a cold winter day with snow. The vast snow is falling, and it seems to flash a cold chill in the trance. Wrap a thick cotton coat for Konoha. At this time, it was almost dark. Kainai, who had just finished a whole day of training, took a shower, and changed into clean and tidy clothes. Like in previous years, he was going to find Uchiha Izumi to celebrate the new year together. But when passing by a corner of Konoha covered with snow, a sudden situation made Kainai stop. Not far ahead, 2 boys and 1 girl, 3 naughty children were bullying a little girl about 5 or 6 years old. I heard that you are the daughter of the Hyuga family, so you can show us your Byakugan? If you don't want to, don't look over here. What a gloomy eyeball. It's actually a monster. You Byakugan monster. The girl had short lavender hair, pure white eyes, and a beautiful appearance. The 3 naughty kids said something to each other, mocking and ridiculing, making the girl's big eyes involuntarily misty and crying. Hinata? Kainai murmured as he looked at the familiar face of the little girl. At this moment, Kainai's long-lost system prompt sounded in his mind. Ding. How can the host, as the strongest loli control, sit and watch the little loli in front of him get hurt? Go help her. 1. Go forward to help, so that the little loli will no longer be bullied by her peers. Reward, change of nature of earth attribute chakra skills. 2. Leave it alone, and reward Danzo's panties. Another little panties, and it's Danzo again. How much do you like Danzo's panties? Kainai was speechless, and chose the first option without hesitation. As the saying goes, more skills are better than less. Although he doesn't have Earth Escape ninjutsu to learn, he will have it in the future. However, since we want to solve the bullying problem, it is definitely not okay to go up directly. The reason is that Kainai is much older than them. If he goes up today, maybe he will run away because of fear this time. But he will still bully next time. And this is only a temporary solution. The key is to let Hinata learn to resist. Thinking of this, Kainai made a seal with his right hand. The transformation technique was performed. There was a bang, and the smoke dissipated. Kainai turned into a 6-year-old child. Hey, do you guys have fun bullying people? The 3 naughty children heard Kainai's words, and they were very upset, because they were used to being arrogant. Seeing Kainai coming over, who was not tall, they all laughed. Where did these bean sprouts come from? Are their heroes saving a beauty? Haha, the bean sprout monster actually wants to save the white-eyed monster. After all, they are all monsters. It's normal for the bean sprout monster to want to save the white-eyed monster. After saying that, the leading kid stepped forward and was about to punch Kainai. The other 2 kids looked at the latter with a smirk and amusement on their faces. They were not children from ordinary families. Their parents were ninjas. Although they had not yet entered school, they had already started ninja training. Naturally, they were better at fighting than children from ordinary civilian families. But soon, they couldn't laugh anymore. Facing the attack of the leading kid, Kainai just slowly raised his right hand, easily blocked it, and hit the kid in the face with a straight punch. Before the other two kids could react, he took another step forward and punched with both hands at the same time. The three kids slowly squatted down, covering their bleeding noses, and burst into tears. PS. First update, please recommend and vote for me. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Naruto, do you want ramen? Exchange it with your wife. Next time you dare to bully others, and dare to call people names randomly, I will beat you up, remember? Kainai did not use any ruthless hands, but just enough to make them bleed from the nose. After a long while, when they had cried enough, he smiled evilly and spoke. As the saying goes, naughty children need to be controlled by naughty children. If an older person takes action, they will only be afraid for a while, and will sneer in a few days. Only when a child who is more naughty than them takes action will they remember. Remember. Wow. Hearing Kainai's words, the three looked up and saw that his white face showed a playful smile that was even more evil than his. They suddenly got a sense of alertness and answered in unison with a crying voice. Until Kainai stopped looking at them. Just now, they were panicking and wished their parents had more legs and ran away crying. At this time, Hinata Hyuga still had tears in the corners of her eyes, looking at this boy who suddenly appeared like a hero and saved her. Inexplicably, a familiar feeling emerged in her heart. It seemed that she had seen him somewhere before. She immediately gathered up her courage, walked to Kainai, blushed, and bowed. Thank you. You don't have to thank me. Kainai made a seal with his right hand, and with a bang, the smoke dissipated and returned to its original state. Hinata looked at Kainai, who had suddenly grown bigger, and the inexplicable sense of familiarity surged in her heart again, and she couldn't help asking, have we met somewhere before? It seems that you still remember. 2 years ago, that winter day, you got lost in the snow. How was it? Do you remember? Kainai half squatted down, and asked with a chuckle. You are the big brother who sent me home. Hinata heard the familiar scene and instantly flooded into her mind, and she spoke excitedly. Kainai nodded and stroked the little girl's head. Immediately, Hinata lowered her head shyly. Kainai tilted his head and glanced at the male ninja, who also had a pair of pure white eyes at the end of the road. He looked at the yellow-haired boy hiding behind a tree not far away. He whispered to Hinata, little girl, you are a child of the Hyuga family and have the Byakugan. You should have received orthodox ninja training since childhood. Why can't you deal with those naughty kids? Remember, next time you encounter this situation, don't back down or cry, but learn to fight back. The help of others is only temporary after all, and no one can protect you for a lifetime. Blind tolerance and weakness will not solve any problems. If you want to protect what you cherish, you must learn to take the initiative. Okay, I have something to do. See you next time. After speaking, Kainai turned around and slowly disappeared from Hinata's sight without looking back. After a while, the Chunin of the Hyuga family ran over and said nervously, Miss, why did you sneak out again? What if you meet a bad guy? Fortunately, that person didn't do anything just now. Also, you didn't get close to that yellow-haired kid, did you? The clan leader has ordered us not to. Facing the guards chattering, Hinata didn't care at all. She just looked at the place where Kainai disappeared. Behind him, there was a yellow-haired boy sneaking behind him, whispering in her heart, see you next time, big brother. After that day, Hinata changed her shy personality. She suddenly became interested in practicing the soft fist. In addition to completing the practice homework assigned by her father every day, she would practice more privately. If she encountered something she didn't understand, she would ask her father as soon as possible. This surprised and pleased Hyuga Hayashi, who was responsible for teaching Hinata the soft fist. In a test, after discovering that Hinata had made great progress, he, who had always been strict, rarely praised his daughter who he had disliked in the past. Hinata was overjoyed to receive her father's exaggeration and practiced harder. In the end, she gradually caught up with the genius Hyuga. Of course, this is a later story. On the other side, Kainai had returned to Ichiraku Ramen. Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the mission, and the reward is the change of the nature of the earth attribute chakra skill. Finally, my words were not in vain. Listening to the system prompt in his ear, Kainai's mouth corners slightly raised. Then he glanced behind him. There, a yellow-haired kid used the most clumsy hiding skills to hide behind the telephone pole and occasionally poked his head out to watch. Seeing Kainai looking back, the yellow-haired boy immediately shrank back with guilt. Come out, you've been following me all the way, aren't you tired? Kainai sighed helplessly. Nizan, do you still remember me? I'm Naruto. Uzumaki. Naruto. Hearing this, Naruto smiled and walked out from behind the telephone pole. Of course I remember, Kainai said. Speaking of which, the two of them got to know each other from sending Hinata home 2 years ago. Originally, it was Naruto who was wandering around the streets because he had no family to send Hinata home. But because of Kainai's intrusion, the two did not meet. This time was the same. If Kainai had not taken action, Naruto would have stepped forward to save Hinata as in the original book and then been beaten up. On the way back, Kainai met Naruto, and seeing that he was pitiful, he invited him to have a bowl of ramen. Unexpectedly, the other party still remembered it. Hearing this, Naruto's pair of light blue eyes suddenly revealed excitement, and the joy on his face was beyond words. Because Kainai was the first person in his life who did not look at him with strange eyes except for the third generation. The owner of Ichiraku Ramen was the second. At this moment, Naruto's stomach growled. You must not have eaten well again. Kainai looked at Naruto. Naruto's face was slightly red, and he stroked his stomach embarrassedly, tilted his head to look at the brightly lit Ichiraku Ramen next to Kainai. His throat rolled, and he swallowed hard. I knew it was like this. Come in. I'll treat you to ramen. Kainai glanced at the Anbu ninja hiding in the dark and monitoring Naruto, and walked into Ichiraku Ramen first. Naruto was stunned for a moment, and his face suddenly showed excitement and perception, and he quickly followed in. In the dark, one of the Anbu who was responsible for monitoring Naruto said, someone has contacted the Ninetales Jinchuriki. Do you want to report to the Hokage? Another Anbu replied, no, that kid should just feel sorry for the Ninetales Jinchuriki and treat him to a meal. Let's wait and see what happens. Hey, it's Kainai brother, why didn't you come with your girlfriend today? What do you want to eat? Ichiraku greeted him with a smile. Give him a bowl of pork bone ramen. Kainai pointed at Naruto who followed him, took out the few money he had, and put it on the table. Uncle Ichiraku, give him a bowl of noodles every day in the future. This money should be enough for him to eat until the new year. Naruto? Ichiraku's eyes, which were slightly narrowed, rarely opened, and looked at Naruto with a complicated expression. Recalling the scene when Kainai brought Naruto to eat ramen 2 years ago, and thinking of Kainai's life experience, he couldn't help but sighed. Brother Kainai, you are really a good person. Kainai smiled and was about to leave when Naruto's childish and expectant voice rang in his ears. Kainai-san, don't you want to eat? No, I have an appointment with someone. Kainai shook his head. Kwon was still waiting for him to eat the New Year's Eve dinner, and then he left without looking back. Only Naruto was left in a daze, but soon his thoughts were hooked by the fragrant Ichiraku ramen. Today is destined to be a good day for Naruto. Although he lost the opportunity to meet his future wife, he gained a New Year's ramen. PS. Second update. Please recommend and monthly votes. Chapter 9 The Calm Before the Storm. Signed. PS. Signed. Please support. When Kainai arrived at Uchiha Izumi's house, it was completely dark. Kainai, you're too slow. As soon as Kainai entered the door, Uchiha Izumi came to greet him, brushing off the snow on his body like a housewife, and taking off his scarf and coat. Sorry, something delayed me. Kainai took off his ninja boots with an apologetic look. It must be said that this kind of shoes is really not good. Although it is comfortable to wear, it will expose the toes. If he didn't have the Sharinganju to protect himself, I'm afraid he really couldn't get used to wearing it. Forget it, it's good that you're here. Uchiha Izumi prepared a pair of slippers for Kainai. You sit on the kotatsu first. I'll go heat up the food. As he spoke, Uchiha Izumi brought the food on the table into the kitchen one after another. Kainai sat bored by the quilt, urging the skills, continuously releasing perception, exploring the surrounding situation, and after confirming that no one was monitoring him, he focused on the system. System, open my personal panel. Ding, the Lalita control panel is opening. Host, Fujiwara Chiya, gender, male, age 11 years old. Chakra attributes, fire, lightning, earth, yin, yang. Chakra amount 30 card. Secret technique, Shaiyangangju, has reached the 4th level, with built-in body protection and flash skills, ninjutsu, fire style great fireball jutsu, fire style phoenix fire jutsu, fire style great dragon fire jutsu, shadow clone jutsu, 3 body jutsu, instant body jutsu, summoning jutsu, no summoning beast yet, illusion. Mirror flower and water moon, the enemy only needs to see the initial release once, without interfering with the chakra. It can directly act on the soul, control the 5 senses, spiritual power induction, etc., and can also control chakra induction in the Naruto world. Taijutsu, Konoha basic taijutsu, Shaiyangangju's own moves, Uchiha style shuriken throwing, kunai throwing. Chakra attribute changes, fire, thunder, earth warehouse, Zanpakuto Kyokusu Jetsu, Kunai X15, Shuriken X11, some clothes, space storage scroll, substitute wooden stake X9. Looking at the system panel in front of him, Kainai was slightly stunned and murmured in his heart, when did I have more yin and yang attribute chakras, and this huge amount of chakra? Is it because of the Shaiyangangju? Kainai stopped the operation of the skills, and exited the sage mode, and found that the chakra attributes changed back to fire, thunder, and earth. The chakra amount was reduced to 3 cards, that is to say, the 4th level of Shaiyangangju, while increasing a certain amount of basic chakra for him, also increased his chakra amount by nearly 10 times. It seems that in the near future, our Fujin will also be able to become a Chakten. Thinking of this in his heart, Kainai looked thoughtfully at Uchiha Izumi, who was busy in the kitchen, with a solemn look in his eyes. Speaking of which, there are less than 2 years left before the Uchiha clan is exterminated, and Uchiha Shizu will soon return from the border of the Hidden Mist village. By then, Uchiha Shizu will definitely be naive enough to reveal his Mangekyou Sharingan ability to the Konoha high-level officials. Then he will be dazzled by Danzo. By then, it is time for me to take action. Winter has gone, and spring has come. Another season of spring warmth and blooming flowers. Kainai is in the 6th grade, and the ninja school has also welcomed a group of new students. Where Konoha dances, fire will also continue. The flames will illuminate the village and let the new trees sprout. The will of fire will never be extinguished. On the podium, the 3rd generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, as usual, instilled the will of fire into the new students in the form of a speech on the first day of school. In the 6th grade classroom, Kainai stood in front of the window, overlooking everything below, secretly despising in his heart. It also illuminates the village, and makes the new trees sprout. Good guy, burning the entire Konoha, illuminating you, the 3rd generation Hokage, and letting the Sarutobi family sprout. If I hadn't seen the 4th Ninja World War, where the Sarutobi family had formed an army, I'm afraid I would have really believed you. This old man. Sarutobi Hiruzen, you've become rotten, and you've become a borer that can only suck the energy of the big tree of Konoha. What are you looking at, Chiai-kun? Uchiha Izumi walked to Chiai's side, looked at his deep black eyes, and was slightly stunned. When he found out that it was not a shadow clone, he said with some surprise, "Hey, you actually came here by yourself today?" "Nothing. I have to come and see you occasionally." Chiai smiled and shook his head. His eyes swept across the 9 people on the playground outside the window, including Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Nobushiko, Hiruno Sakura, Nera Shikamaru, Yamana Kurino, Akimichi Choji, Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba, and Aburame Shino, and then returned to his seat. Speaking of which, including Hyuga Niji, Tenten, and Rock Lee, who entered school last year, all the 12 little strongmen of Konoha are here. Kainai, have you been worried recently? I always feel that you have been depressed since the new year. Uchiha Izumi sat next to Kainai and said with some concern. Don't worry, I'm fine. I just sigh that time flies. In a blink of an eye, 6 years have passed. Even the second pillar in Uchiha Itachi's arms has entered school. Kainai chuckled. Kainai, it's impolite to give others nicknames. I've told you so many times that his name is Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke, not second pillar. Uchiha Izumi corrected. Okay, Uchiha second pillar. Kainai smiled. Forget it, call me whatever you want, but don't let our clan leader hear it. Looking at Kainai's expression full of bad taste, Uchiha Izumi sighed helplessly and whispered in Kainai's ear. Changing the subject, she returned to the previous topic. But Kainai-kun, if you have any worries, you must tell me first. At this point, she held Kainai's hand affectionately. Definitely. Kainai's eyes drifted to the window, whispering in his heart, I'm sorry, Kwan. It's better for you not to know what's going to happen next. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the ninja school was over. Kainai rarely went to practice, but chose to send Uchiha-kwan home. Kainai-kun, we haven't gone home together after school for a long time. Uchiha-kwan walked quickly to Kainai, placed his jade hands on his lower back, leaned forward slightly, and smiled as he stepped back. Yes, it has been a long time. Kainai walked to Uchiha Izumi's side, and the two walked side by side. From now on, until graduation, I will take you home every day. Really? Uchiha Izumi's face lit up. Although she was very happy that Kainai could take her home every day, Kainai had been too abnormal in recent times. She always felt that something bad would happen. She asked with some concern, but don't you need to practice? Is this really okay? It doesn't matter, it won't make a difference for a while. Kainai chuckled. As soon as the voice fell, a childish and arrogant voice sounded behind him. Humph, you finally see the gap between you and my brother. No matter how much you practice, you can't catch up with my brother. PS. First update, please recommend and vote for me. Chapter 10, The Fear of Three Generations. The two turned around and saw a little boy who looked 30% like Uchiha Itachi, carrying a shoulder bag, holding his head high, and walking towards them with a proud look on his face. Ah, isn't this Miss Yuzi? Kainai showed a playful smile on his face. With frequent visits to the Uchiha family, Kainai naturally got to know Sasuke. Facing this one of the four laughing Uchiha heroes in the future, Kainai couldn't help but go forward to tease him. After a few times, the two became familiar with each other. Of course, this is limited to this for now. He will still be beaten in the future. Who told this kid to always pretend and challenge others above his level? Every time he was beaten, he didn't learn his lesson. The sky cleared up, the rain stopped, and Nizuzi felt that he was fine again. Sasuke blushed. How many times have I told you that my name is Sasuke, Uchiha Sasuke, not some second pillar. You are my brother's defeated opponent. Kainai continued to tease. Okay, second pillar, but you said that I was your brother's defeated opponent, and you haven't seen the two of us compete, so how do you know that I'm not his opponent? Humph. That's for sure. When mentioning Uchiha Itachi, Sasuke's face was full of pride and admiration. Just as he was about to say something, he suddenly reacted and said fiercely, how many times have I told you that you are not allowed to call me second pillar? Okay, second pillar. Kainai was so angry that he was dying. You bastard, I'm Sasuke, not second pillar. Sasuke blushed again, waved his fist and rushed up. The result was undoubtedly that Kainai easily dodged and almost fell to the ground. Looking at the two figures chasing and fleeing in front of him, Uchiha Izumi's gloom was swept away. He tilted his head to look up at the sky and murmured in his heart, perhaps he was overthinking. In the distance, two figures stood on the roof of the tallest building in Konoha, looking down. Itachi, is this your brother? I didn't expect that he has grown up so fast. Who is a ninja school student playing with him? He doesn't reject Uchiha like other villagers, which is rare. Uchiha Shisu, the strongest illusion ninja of the Uchiha family, said. His name is Fujiwara Chiya. He was in the same class with me during the ninja school. Because he has a good relationship with Izumi, he is not hostile to Uchiha like other villagers. Uchiha Itachi answered calmly, but his tone seemed unnatural. Uchiha Shizu was stunned and looked at Itachi with some surprise. From what you said, it seems that you are still a little bit unsatisfied. What happened? Uchiha Itachi opened his Sharingan and said, "This is an extremely dangerous person." "Why do you say that?" Uchiha Shizu heard the words, and almost subconsciously opened his Sharingan to watch. The next second, his pupils suddenly dilated, and he lost his voice in horror. "What is this? Have you discovered that Kainai is not a Jinkriki, nor is he a member of the Uzumaki clan, but he has a chakra amount that is very inconsistent with his age? Looking at the entire Konoha, there are not many people whose chakra amount can exceed his," Uchiha Itachi said with a serious face. Uchiha Shizu frowned. "Could it be that you think too much? Just based on this, you think he is dangerous? Maybe he is born like this. It is too arbitrary to judge him as a dangerous person based on the chakra amount alone. It's not just me who feels that Kainai is not as simple as he seems," Uchiha Itachi said in a deep voice. "Don't worry." Uchiha Shizu patted Itachi's shoulder. "I think you are too nervous because of the recent family affairs. Even if this young man named Kainai really hides something, he has not harmed Konoha, nor has he touched the interests of the Uchiha clan. In this world, not everyone likes to show off their talents. Maybe." Uchiha Itachi closed his Sharingan and did not deny it. "You didn't tell others about this?" Uchiha Shizu asked again. Uchiha Itachi shook his head slowly. "Since they don't want to attract attention, then don't publicize it." At this point, Uchiha Shizu couldn't help but sigh and said meaningfully, "Sometimes, I really envy these people who come from civilian backgrounds. At least they don't say anything. Go back, and we'll meet at the old place tonight." After speaking, Shizu's figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Uchiha Itachi once again looked deeply at Kainai, who had already gone far away, opened his mouth, but didn't say anything after all, and his figure also flashed and disappeared on the spot. At the moment they left, Kainai raised his hand and pressed the forehead of the second pillar who wanted to attack him, and tilted his head to look in the direction where Itachi had stood before, muttering in his heart, "Have they left? The people of the Uchiha family are indeed not simple. It's a pity that their emotional intelligence is almost zero." "Kainai, what are you looking at?" Uchiha Izumi looked in the direction of Kainai. "Nothing, let's go." Kainai shook his head and sighed in his heart. Since Uchiha Shizu is back, it won't be long before Danzo is dazzling. On the other side, Shizu has come to the top of the Konoha Hokage building and knelt on one knee to Sarutobi Hiruzen, Hokage. Just like in the original work, Shizu first reported to Sarutobi Hiruzen the specific situation of repelling the ninjas of the Hidden Mist village, and then learned that the Uchiha clan was about to stage a coup, and proposed his own solution. At first, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't take it seriously, because he knew that the contradiction between Uchiha and Konoha, no, to be precise, with their Konoha level, had already reached an irreconcilable point. It was not until Shizu mentioned Katamatsukami that a touch of emotion flashed across Sarutobi Hiruzen's cloudy old eyes. "Katamatsukami? Is that your Dojutsu?" Sarutobi Hiruzen still had his back to Uchiha Shizu, so that the latter could not see what he was thinking. "Yes, Hokage. It is the eye technique I gained after opening the Manjaki Sharingan. It can manipulate others at will without their knowledge and permanently and completely change people's thoughts and will. But because the power of this technique is too great, it takes more than 10 years to cool down each time it is used." Shizu did not hide anything, and frankly stated his plan. "I will use this technique on the clan leader Uchiha Fugaku at the clan meeting tomorrow, to stop the rebellion of the Uchiha clan." Sarutobi Hiruzen was suddenly startled, and a strong fear flashed across his eyes, but on the surface he remained calm. He turned around, and walked past Shizu. "I understand. Just treat it as a confidential mission assigned to you by me. Just do it. Come to me again at this time tomorrow, and I will find you a helper. Only the Sharingan can deal with the Sharingan." He planned to let Uchiha Itachi monitor Uchiha Shizu to be on the safe side. "Yes, Hokage." Shizu responded respectfully, performed the instant body technique, and disappeared on the spot. Sarutobi Hiruzen fell into deep thought after returning to the Hokage's office. Obviously, Uchiha Shizu's Katamatsukami was far beyond his control. As the strongest Hokage in Konoha's history, he must take precautions before it happens. PS. Second update. Thanks to Zio-Han for the 500 starting coins. Thanks to the book friend. Asterisk 9763 for the 1500 starting coins. Chapter 11. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the aureole behind. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen was very confident in his brainwashing, oh no, his personality charm, and believed that Shizu would never betray him. But one should be prepared for the worst. What if Shizu's actions over the years were all deliberately disguised? If things go wrong, he, the strongest Hokage in history, will have his will rewritten by Katamatsuki and become a puppet of the Uchiha clan. This is something he cannot tolerate. But he is a Hokage and must always be bathed in the sun. Even if he cannot tolerate it, he must never choose to directly attack his subordinates. Such dark things must be done by Danzo. Thinking of this, he called Ananbu. Go, inform Danzo to come to me at this time tomorrow and tell him that I want to discuss with him about dealing with the Uchiha clan. Also, go and call Itachi to me. Danzo coveted the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, and the third Hokage was not completely unaware of it. If Danzo knew the ability of Uchiha Shizu's Mangeki, he would definitely snatch it without his hint. But this is not enough insurance, and it may not be able to get rid of Shizu. He plans to let Itachi act as a last layer of insurance. If Shizu is sensible, even if he escapes from Danzo, he will definitely commit suicide to thank Konoha, thereby temporarily extinguishing the Uchiha clan's spirit and strength. End the coup. Doing so will kill two birds with one stone. Uchiha Izumi family. Kanai slowly opened his eyes and withdrew his perception. As he expected, Uchiha Shizu foolishly ran to tell the third Hokage about his Mangeki ability and thus faced a fatal disaster. Tomorrow is the Uchiha clan's festival. Kanai vaguely remembered that the Uchiha family was increasingly dissatisfied with Konoha and planned to use this opportunity to discuss a coup. Little did he know that the two traitors in the family had already reported it. The final result will be left unresolved because of Uchiha Shizu's suicide. Thinking of this, Kanai couldn't help but sigh in his heart. What a sad clan. There is the filial son Uchiha Itachi, the naive Uchiha Shizu, and the middle school boy Obito. Even the clan leader is a cowardly and wavering person. It's really hard to survive. At this moment, Izumi's voice interrupted Kanai's thoughts. Kanai, the meal is ready. Oh, it's here. As he said, Kanai got up and walked to the dining table. The next day, Kanai urged his skills to enter the sage mode and monitor the chakras of Uchiha Shizu and Danzo at all times. In the evening, after sending Uchiha Izumi home, Kanai sensed that the chakras of the two finally merged together. Immediately put on a disguise and tracked down the extremely remote Senju clan ruins in a corner of Konoha. The process was the same as in the original work. Sarutobi Hiruzen called Danzo after learning about Uchiha Shizu's Mangeki ability. In front of Shizu, he told Danzo about Katamatsuki's ability and Uchiha Shizu's plan to use Katamatsuki to control Uchiha Fugaku, and stated that the treatment of the Uchiha clan would be improved afterwards. The consequences are self-evident. Danzo set his sights on Shizu's Sharingan. Before Shizu went to the Uchiha festival, Danzo called him here, set up an ambush, and prepare to implement the plan to steal the eyes. To be honest, Kanai doesn't hate good people like Shizu. At least, he is much easier to get along with than a hypocrite like Sarutobi Hiruzen and a venomous snake like Danzo. If Kanai is willing to help, it will not be difficult to save Shizu. But the three views of both parties are completely opposite. Anyone who has seen Naruto knows that Uchiha Shizu is a thorough supporter and admirer of the will of fire. Even to death, he still believes in the Konoha level. Although Kanai has the Zanpakuto Kyokusu Jetsu, it can be guaranteed that when facing the owner of the Mangeki Sharingan, by controlling the five senses, he can avoid illusions like Tsukuyomi, and even directly break through them with the powerful mental and physical energy given by the Zanpakuto in the technique. But the eye of controlling will, like the Bitsuo Matsukumi, is dangerous, and it can turn everyone the caster sees into his puppet. If Kanai goes to the opposite side of Konoha in the future, Shizu will definitely stand up at the first time. It is better to be safe than sorry. This kind of bug level ability should either disappear or be in his own hands. This is the best choice. He doesn't want to release mirror flowers and water moons all the time to guard against Uchiha Shizu and thus live a life of fear. I can't sleep or eat if Shizu doesn't die. Thinking so in his heart, Kainai's eyes hidden under the black robe stared coldly at Danzo and Uchiha Shisu who were chatting in front. What do you want to talk to me about? Lord Danzo, the gathering is about to start. Uchiha Shisu said to Danzo in confusion. If we take action against Uchiha Fugaku and rectify the Uchiha clan, but the village does not change its treatment of the Uchiha clan, what will you do? With his right eye wrapped in a bandage and his left eye slightly squinted, Danzo did not take action directly, but asked Uchiha Shisu what he thought. The result is undoubtedly that Shisu's answer disappointed him greatly and made him more determined to seize Katamatsukomi. Hokage-sama promised me that he would make changes, Uchiha Shisu said firmly. Even if we convince the third Hokage, the village's suspicion of the Uchiha will not disappear. When mentioning the third Hokage, Danzo's eyes flashed with disdain, and he suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Shisu again, his eyes full of greed and desire. Out of trust in Konoha, Shisu did not realize that the crisis was approaching and still maintained his naive thoughts. I understand, in time I will. He wanted to say something else, but was interrupted by Danzo. That's the point. A suspicious person like me won't change his mind easily. What will you do then? Danzo half lowered his head, his old face covered by shadows, and the Sharingan hidden under the bandage in his right eye, was ready to go, entering the state of Ice energy. But, Danzo-sama, Shisu wanted to say something else, but was interrupted by Danzo again. Will you also use Katamatsukomi to attack me then? As he spoke, Danzo slowly raised his head, his eyes showing a fierce look, threw away his usual crutches, raised his left hand, and grabbed Uchiha Shisu's eyes fiercely. Leave your Sharingan to me. Uchiha Shisu was suddenly startled, but after all, he was a genius of the Uchiha clan, and he was not naive enough to let others slaughter him. He clamped Danzo's left hand and cast an illusion to freeze him in place. This is just an ordinary illusion, and it will be lifted soon. Shisu slowly put down Danzo's left hand, a hint of deep disappointment flashed across his eyes, and turned to leave. But before he could take a few steps, Danzo, who was still controlled by the illusion, suddenly appeared in front of him, punched Shisu in the abdomen, and reached for his right eye with his left hand, drawing an arrow line of blood in the air. His movements were clean and neat, and he did it in one go. Shisu covered his empty right eye in pain, jumped back, and quickly distanced himself from Danzo. PS. First update. Please recommend and vote. Thanks to Rangai and Huo for the reward of 533 starting coins. Thanks to Pipizao Shang, Hermit Crab, for the reward of 100 starting coins. Thanks to Lana and Wuwei, Uzayada Gang, for the reward of 1500 starting coins. Chapter 12 Danzo's broken arm, Shisu's death. It's time. Just as the two were about to separate, Kainai, who had been hiding in the dark and waiting for a long time, moved. The fourth level of Sharinganju burst out. The flash skill of Sharinganju combined with the instant body technique, the speed was almost extremely fast. Including Shisu, who was in pain because of the seizure of his right eye. No one could see what happened. They only saw a knife light passing between the two. When they separated, Shisu lost his right eye, and Danzo lost his entire left arm. What on earth is going on? Danzo, who thought he had won, looked at his left arm falling to the ground with empty eyes. His palm spread out, and the Sharingan had long disappeared. The next second, a piercing pain from the depths of his soul swept over, and Danzo couldn't help but let out a heart-wrenching howl. Kainai smiled coldly, without a moment of lingering, and walked away. Now Danzo's left arm is completely useless. His left arm was cut by the Zanpakuto, and it was not only the body that was cut off, but also the soul. In the days ahead, unless he gets a puppet arm, even if he transplants his left arm, it will die, and he will no longer be able to gather chakra. Let him worry about such troublesome things. Danzo-sama. The root ninjas hiding in the dark were also shocked, and immediately appeared to protect Danzo. They didn't see what happened at all. They only felt a shadow flash before their eyes, and Danzo's left arm was broken. And Shisu also reacted quickly. He covered his empty right eye and looked at Danzo, whose left arm was cut off. Knowing that a third party had taken action, he quickly formed seals with both hands. Fire escape. Great fireball jutsu. A huge fireball suddenly covered Danzo and the root ninjas. These root ninjas were originally arranged by Danzo to deal with Uchiha Shisu. Seeing this, they formed seals at the same time. Water escape. Water chaos wave. Water and fire touched each other, and a huge cloud of water vapor rose in the air. Shisu took this opportunity to escape quickly. The root ninjas all looked at Danzo. Danzo-sama, Uchiha Shisu has already escaped. Damn, who is it? Danzo's face was grim. He covered his left shoulder in pain. Veins on his forehead bulged. His eyes were full of resentment and anger. He was always good at calculating, but today he was taken advantage of. It was outrageous. Danzo-sama, should we chase him? One of the root ninjas suggested. Chase? What are you chasing? Hurry up and take my left arm back to the root. Danzo roared, although he didn't see who cut off his left arm, but it was definitely not Uchiha Shisu who did it. In that case, he didn't have the ability, and didn't dare to do so. Now Danzo's Sharingan has been used up, his body has been severely injured, and his right hand transplanted with the first generation cells is still sealed, and it is not suitable to use this trick in Konoha. If that person attacks again, his life will be over. On the other hand, after getting Shisu's Kotomatsukami, Kainai did not choose to show up at this time. Instead, he came to the Nan River, where Uchiha Shisu died. Is this Kotomatsukami? Looking at Shisu's right eye, that he had taken from Danzo, Kainai couldn't help but feel nauseous, and put it into the system warehouse. The time and space of the system warehouse are absolutely static. He had tried throwing rabbits and fish in, and after a period of time, they were still safe and sound, and the Sharingan could be preserved. As for transplantation, Kainai didn't have this idea. He wouldn't do such a crazy thing as deducting his own eyeballs. He didn't want to be dragged down by the Sharingan or even blinded like Kakashi, because he didn't have the blood of the Uchiha clan. That would be too wrong. Another point is that a single Sharingan is too ugly. Instead of this, he would rather learn from Uchiha Itachi and transplant it into the eyes of the summoning beast. Isn't it beautiful? However, at the moment he threw the Sharingan into the system warehouse, the long-lost system prompt sounded. Ding, Sharingan from the Naruto world is detected in the system warehouse. Do you want to fuse it? What will happen after fusion? Kainai was stunned and asked in his heart. Ding, after fusion, the host's right eye will be replaced. Fuck, what's the point of fusion? I don't want to be the second Kakashi. Kainai's mouth twitched fiercely, and he looked up at the top of the cliff, his eyes surging. System, what will happen if I throw Uchiha Shisu into the system warehouse? Ding, if the host is not afraid of split personality, just fuse it. Fuck. Only fools will fuse. Kainai cursed in his heart. He simply didn't care about anything. Anyway, Shisu was going to commit suicide anyway. No matter whether he was dead or alive, he would throw him into the system warehouse first. At the same time, Uchiha Shisu and Itachi had already arrived at the top of the cliff. This was the place where they often played together when they were children. Shisu, your eyes? Uchiha Itachi was a person who was very bad at expressing his emotions. Although his face was still calm, there was already murderous intent brewing in his heart. As you can see, it's been taken away. Shisu turned around, revealing his lost right eye and a self-deprecating smile. Then he continued, the Uchiha coup can no longer be stopped. If civil war is allowed to break out in Konoha, other countries will inevitably take the opportunity to invade and start the 4th Ninja World War. I wanted to use Kotomatsukami to stop the coup, but unexpectedly my right eye was taken away by Danzo. I was too naive. Danzo has never trusted anyone. He would sacrifice everything to protect the village in his own way. Unfortunately, in the end it was all in vain, and it was a wedding dress for others. A mysterious man suddenly appeared and cut off Danzo's left arm at the moment Danzo took away my right eye. The speed was so fast that even my instant body technique could not match it. Now I'm afraid my left eye has become his target. Danzo will not give up. At this point, Shisu pondered for a moment and took off his only remaining left eye. So, before my left eye is taken away, I plan to entrust it to you for safekeeping. Shisu. Hearing this, Itachi, who usually did not show his emotions, could no longer hold on. His eyes were misty, and he spoke with difficulty. After all, you are the only one I can trust. You have to protect the village and Uchiha. Uchiha Shisu showed a relieved smile on his face, and spread his left hand, revealing his bloody eyeballs. At this moment, he had already intended to die. Uchiha Itachi closed his eyes painfully, called a crow, and took Shisu's eyes. I have taken your eyes. What are you going to do next? If I die, the situation will inevitably change. The Uchiha coup will also end in vain. I have left a suicide note. Uchiha Shisu slowly retreated to the edge of the cliff. Wait. Shisu seeing this, Uchiha Itachi could no longer remain calm and wanted to go up to stop him, but heard Uchiha Shisu say, "Don't stop me if you are still my friend." After that, Uchiha Shisu leaned back and fell to the bottom of the cliff, and his figure slowly disappeared into the darkness. PS. Second update. 2 updates before the release. Chapter 13 Obito takes the blame. Uchiha Shisu eventually died. In order to stop the Uchiha coup and the civil war, and also to help Uchiha Itachi open the Mangekyou Sharingan, he opened his hands to both sides, fell to the bottom of the cliff with a smile, and died peacefully. It was at the moment when Shisu died. 2 lines of blood and tears slid down from the corners of Uchiha Itachi's eyes, and the 3 Magatama quickly rotated and turned into a windmill shape. He successfully opened the Mangekyou Sharingan. Kainai, who had been waiting for a long time below, immediately put his body into the system warehouse. Ding, a special blood organism was detected in the system warehouse. Do you want to extract it? Extract? Kainai was stunned. Are you sure it's not fusion? Ding, the host can choose fusion. Then extract it. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining a copy of the Uchiha family bloodline, which has been automatically stored in the system warehouse. Do you want to swallow it? Engulf it. Ding, engulfment was successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Uchiha bloodline. Ding, a Sharingan was detected in the system warehouse. Do you want to engulf it? Swallow. With the Uchiha bloodline, he doesn't have to worry about not being able to close the Sharingan. Ding, swallowing is successful. Congratulations to the host for opening the Mangekyou Sharingan in the right eye. Kainai walked to the river, looked at his reflection in the water, and couldn't help but complain. Single eye. So ugly without transferring to the first generation of cells. If the Mangekyou is used too much, there will be a risk of blindness. But the eternal Mangekyou will not, as long as you find another Mangekyou owner, swallow the Sharingan and its bloodline, then you will break the shackles that only blood relatives can fuse, and open the eternal Mangekyou. But before that, Kainai did not plan to use this ability. He didn't want to become a one-eyed dragon. Immediately, he quickly closed it. System, open my personal panel. Ding, the Lalita control panel is opening. Host, Fujiwara Chiya gender, male age. 11 years old bloodline limit, Sharingan chakra attributes, fire, lightning, earth, yin, yang chakra amount. 30 card secret technique, Sharingan Jutsu, has reached the 4th level, with built-in protective ki and flash skills, ninjutsu, fire style, great fireball jutsu, fire style, phoenix fire jutsu, fire style, great dragon fire jutsu, shadow clone jutsu, 3-body jutsu, instant body jutsu, summoning jutsu summoning beast, Krojin jutsu, Kyoka Sujetsu, the enemy only needs to see the Shike once, without interfering with the chakra. It can directly act on the soul, control the 5 senses, spiritual power sensing, etc. In the Naruto world, it can also control chakra sensing, Katamatsukami, Genjutsu, Sharingan Taijutsu, Konoha basic Taijutsu, Sharingan Jutsu's own moves, Uchiha style shuriken throwing, kunai throwing, chakra attribute changes, fire, thunder, earth warehouse, Zanpakuto Kyoka Sujetsu, Uchiha Shisu, deceased, kunai x15, shuriken x11, some clothes, space storage scroll, substitute wooden stake x9. The illusion and summoning beast are inherited, and the body is also well preserved. Kainai murmured, tilting his head to look at the downstream of Nan River, where a figure was approaching rapidly. Kainai murmured, is Uchiha Itachi here? In this case, this Katamatsukami Sharingan will be temporarily deposited with you. After speaking, Kainai took out Shizu's body from the system warehouse, put it back in place, carefully wiped off all traces, and disappeared in this area in a flash. Kainai plans to wait until the 4th Ninja World War to recycle this eye. By then, Obito's Mangekyou and bloodline will be his 3rd target. As for the 2nd target, it is naturally Uchiha Fugaku's. At the same time, the root organization base. After returning to the base, Danzo could no longer bear the pain of his broken arm and torn soul, and he immediately called the medical ninja to repair his left arm. Ah, hurry up, it's gone. Danzo kept urging, screaming in pain. At this moment, he didn't know that his left arm sole was broken, but he felt that the wound was very painful, and the pain was so painful that he almost fainted. Danzo, it's healed. The medical ninja wiped the cold sweat. Connecting a broken arm is a technical job. It can only be done when the medical ninjutsu reaches an extremely high level. But fortunately, the person who drew the knife was a master of knife use, and the broken end was very flat. Otherwise it would be difficult to connect it with his medical ninjutsu. However, before he could breathe a sigh of relief, the left arm that was just intact was necrotic at a speed visible to the naked eye, and became lifeless, like a mummy. It was exactly the same as the hands of Orochimaru, after being sealed by the third generation in the original Konoha collapse plan. What on earth is going on? Danzo was furious. The medical ninja had never encountered such a situation before, and was frightened and incoherent. Danzo-sama, I have connected all the muscles, bones, blood vessels, nerves, and other tissues. This is the first time I have encountered such a situation. Why don't you check it for me? Danzo said impatiently. Yes, Danzo-sama. Hearing this, the medical ninja was immediately pardoned and hurried out of the medical room. Feeling the severe pain in his left arm, Danzo clenched his teeth. His eyes were uncertain. He did not doubt the truth of the medical ninja's words. At the root, every ninja was planted with the seal of tongue eradication by him, completely eliminating the possibility of betrayal. Then the problem could only be the person who cut off his arm. But who is the other party? Not only does he have a flash body that surpasses Shizu, but he can also cause such irreversible damage to himself. Could it be the guy who controlled the Ninetales 6 years ago? It is possible. The more Danzo thought about it, the more frightened he became. If so, it would be too terrible. Once Shizu's eyes fell into the eyes of such a person, for Konoha, it would be a disaster no less than the Ninetales rebellion. No, I'm the root of Konoha, and I must not sit and wait for death. Thinking of this, Danzo said to the root ninja beside him, where is Orochimaru now? Replying to Danzo, Orochimaru has rarely contacted us since he defected. It is said that he has joined a mysterious organization now, and his specific whereabouts are still unknown. The root ninja replied. Waste. All waste. Danzo gnashed his teeth and his face was livid. Go, find Orochimaru at all costs, and send someone to keep an eye on the Uchiha clan. Report to me, as soon as possible, if there is any movement. Since losing the position of Hokage, Danzo has never suffered such a big loss as today. Not only did he lose the manger key that he had already obtained, but he also lost his left arm. He blamed all this on Uchiha. But Orochimaru is an all-round genius. Danzo's right arm containing the cells of the first generation was transplanted with the help of Orochimaru. With him around, maybe a solution can be found. Yes. The root ninja responded respectfully and disappeared into the room. On the other side, in the Hokage's office, late at night, Sarutobi Hiruzen was still hanging his pipe, puffing out smoke, waiting for the result of this Uchiha meeting. Sarutobi Hiruzen has a firm grasp on people's hearts. No matter it's Uchiha or Danzo. In fact, he is not worried that the Uchiha will cause any trouble. He knows exactly what kind of person Uchiha Fugaku is. He always likes to look before and after when doing things, and is weaker than himself in terms of foreign affairs. At this meeting, even if Shizu does not use Katamatsukami on Fugaku, as long as he loses Uchiha Shizu, this important fighting force, the coup will come to nothing. What he really wants to hear is the news of Shizu's death. PS. First update. Please recommend and vote for me. Chapter 14 Obito and Zetsu. There is no way. Just like the White Fang of Konoha back then. No matter how tolerant and great he is as the strongest Hokage of all generations, he can never tolerate the existence of Konoha beyond the control of the Hokage. This is a matter of principle. He shoulders the burden of the entire Konoha. Once Uchiha Shizu has evil intentions and turns him, the Hokage, into a puppet, the harm to Konoha will be far greater than that of the Ninetales. Just as the third Hokage was thinking, Ananbu hurriedly knocked on the door. It's not good, third Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen's mouth slightly raised. Even through the door, he could feel the other party's urgency. It seems that Danzo has succeeded. Come in. Sarutobi Hiruzen was slightly happy in his heart, but on the surface he remained calm and ordered the Anbu ninja to come in and talk. The door of the office creaked and opened. The Anbu ninja quickly walked to the middle of the room, knelt on one knee in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen, made a fist with his right hand, pressed it on the ground, and lowered his head slightly until the Hokage asked him a question. Then he looked up. What happened? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked softly, knowing the answer. The Anbu ninja took a deep breath and reported the intelligence of the Uchiha clan that he had monitored. Hokage-sama, Uchiha Shizu is dead. Hearing this, a hint of joy flashed across the depths of Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes. But he still pretended to be surprised, stood up suddenly, widened his eyes, and asked in great pain, "What? Shizu is dead? What on earth is going on?" Reporting to Hokage-sama, Uchiha Shizu is indeed dead. The Anbu ninja in charge of monitoring has seen Uchiha Shizu's body with his own eyes. It is said that he committed suicide and left a suicide note. But the cause of death is still under investigation. Seeing this, the Anbu ninja sighed in his heart that the third Hokage was considerate of his subordinates and organized his words a little and told all the information he currently had. But, changing the subject, the Anbu ninja suddenly said, Uchiha Shizu's eyes seem to have been dug out, and someone saw that he was called by the root ninja under Lord Danzo today. Danzo. Hearing this name, the turbid old eyes of the third generation immediately became deep. It seems that his old friend has gained a lot, but he still has to give him a warning to prevent him from having bad intentions towards himself. At the same time, the Land of Water, the Hidden Mist Village, Uchiha Obito is controlling the 4th generation Mizukage to implement the Blood Mist Village and a plan to kill the Blood Ninja in an orderly manner, to comfort the spirit of Nohara in heaven. Just as Obito was thinking about what to do next, the combination of Black Zetsu and White Zetsu drilled out of the ground. Black Zetsu said in a hoarse voice, Obito, something big happened in Konoha. How many times have I told you to call me Lord Madara? Obito frowned under the mask and said coldly, Yes, Madara-sama. Black Zetsu replied respectfully, but secretly despised him in his heart. Whether it's you or Uchiha Madara, you are just pawns to revive my mother. Hearing this, Obito's tone just softened a little. Tell me, what happened? White Zetsu spoke first. Uchiha Shizu, who is known as the strongest illusion ninja of the Uchiha family, is dead. Uchiha Shizu is dead. Obito was stunned. When? Since the death of the 4th Hokage, who is Obito most afraid of in the entire Konoha? Sarutobi Hiruzen? Danzo? Uchiha Fugaku? No, none of them. In front of his divine power, these are just chickens and dogs. It's Uchiha Shizu. The reason is simple. The other party has opened the Mangekyou Sharingan, and his ability is extremely strange and powerful. Even he, who has also opened the Mangekyou Sharingan, dares not face him head on. How did such a strong man die? Yesterday. The Uchiha family is holding a funeral right now. Black Zetsu answered. His voice was very hoarse, just like the wind blowing fallen leaves, making people feel extremely uncomfortable. White Zetsu added, it is said that he committed suicide. You believe this nonsense? Obito said unhappily. Black Zetsu continued, Uchiha Shizu did commit suicide. The Uchiha clan was about to stage a coup, and in order to avoid a civil war in Konoha, Uchiha Shizu was willing to commit suicide in order to undermine the morale and combat effectiveness of the Uchiha clan. But before committing suicide, it seemed that he wanted to use the power of the Mangekyou Sharingan to control Uchiha Fugaku, reorganize the Uchiha clan, and stop the coup. In the end, he failed. He was ambushed by Danzo, and his right eye was taken away. Naive guy. A person with eyes and strength of that level actually fell into Danzo's hands in the end. It's ridiculous. Obito snorted coldly, his words full of disdain. Then is Shizu's eye in Danzo's hands now? No, Danzo doesn't seem to have obtained the Sharingan. According to the information obtained by the Spore clone from the Root organization, not only did Danzo fail to get Shizu's right eye, but at the moment of taking Shizu's right eye, his left arm was cut off and snatched away by a mysterious man who suddenly appeared. Black Zetsu sorted out his thoughts and told all the information he had obtained using White Zetsu's clone. White Zetsu gloated. Now Danzo is suspecting that you did it. Mysterious man. Interesting. It seems that Konoha is not as simple as it seems. Obito repeated and continued to ask, what about the left eye? I don't know. But Black Zetsu pondered for a moment and added, the first person to discover Uchiha Shizu's body was Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi was Uchiha Shizu's best friend. After Uchiha Shizu's death, he also opened the Manjaki Sharingan. I think Shizu's left eye should be in his hands. Itachi. Obito frowned. Another tricky guy. Madara, what are you going to do? Black Zetsu asked. Although the Uchiha coup was stopped this time, it is only a matter of time before it breaks out again. After we finish dealing with things here, we will go to Konoha and find an opportunity to pull Itachi into Akatsuki. Obito said, the Uchiha clan members who have opened the Manjaki Sharingan are qualified and will help capture the tailed beasts in the future. By the way, you should also find a way to find the guy who stole Shizu's right eye. The one who can snatch food from Danzo in Konoha must be either a master of space-time ninjutsu or an insider of Konoha. I know. Black Zetsu heard this and responded respectfully. His figure slowly merged into the ground and finally disappeared. The next day, Uchiha Shizu, the strongest illusion ninja of the Uchiha clan, who was known as Instant Body Shizu, died. This news spread like wildfire. The Uchiha clan was deeply hit because of the loss of the support of the strongest Manjaki. For a time, morale was low, and even the Eagle elders kept quiet and did not mention the coup again. Konoha has since fallen into a brief peace again. Of course, this is just a sign before the storm comes. PS. Second update. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Early Graduation. In a fully enclosed meeting room in the Konoha Hokage building. Early in the morning, Sarutobi Hiruzen summoned Uchiha Itachi and called Uchiha Koharu and Mito Kadoen, the two Hokage advisors. Of course, he also asked someone to notify Danzo. However, the other party did not show up yet. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought that Danzo was transplanting Shizu's eyes, so he simply did not wait and planned to find him later to ask what happened. As for the content of this discussion, it was naturally the death of Uchiha Shizu. I feel very sorry about Shizu. I put too much pressure on that child, which caused him to commit suicide for the sake of the village and to prevent a civil war in Konoha. At the beginning, Sarutobi Hiruzen put a high hat on Uchiha Shizu and showed a look of deep sorrow. This moved Itachi Uchiha deeply. He knelt on one knee on the ground, nodded and said, Hokage, you are too polite. Shizu is the core figure in the hearts of the young people of the Uchiha clan. Because of his suicide, the combat effectiveness and morale of the Uchiha clan suddenly dropped. This was Shizu's own choice. In terms of the result, the budding of rebellion was curbed. Uchiha Koharu narrowed her eyes slightly, changed the subject, and suddenly said, but there was news from Danzo. He said that some people in the Uchiha clan now suspect that you killed Shizu and took his eyes. Danzo. Itachi Uchiha clenched his 5 fingers, suppressing the anger in his heart, and explained, Shizu and I are both considering the interests and future of the Uchiha clan. That's just the fabrication of some people with ulterior motives. At this point, Itachi Uchiha's voice became heavier. Shizu did not show up at the agreed place at all. Seeing the anger in Itachi Uchiha's heart, the situation was likely to get out of control. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who knew well about Shizu's death, quickly changed the subject. About this, I firmly believe that Itachi, like Shizu, is the heir of the will of fire. Just as Itachi said, that's nothing but the figment of the imagination of some people with ulterior motives. Itachi, you go down first. The village will never forget what Shizu did. Now that Shizu is gone, we still need you to deal with the Uchiha side. Thank you very much. Uchiha Itachi responded respectfully, got up and left. Watching Uchiha Itachi leaving, Uchiha Koharu said with some dissatisfaction, Hiruzen, why do you want to speak for Uchiha Itachi? He is a big suspect in Shizu's death. Mito Kadoen replied, Koharu is right. Uchiha Itachi is no longer trustworthy. Now the village has finally stabilized. The Uchiha family still needs Itachi to take care of it. It is not appropriate to provoke a war. Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen's mouth twitched fiercely. He couldn't tell Shizu that he had designed it and asked Danzo to do it. Then we can't let Uchiha Itachi act alone. Uchiha Koharu retorted. Sarutobi Hiruzen pondered for a moment and said, I know. Regarding the Uchiha family, I will send someone else to monitor it. Have you chosen someone? Mitokado En and Uchiha Koharu both looked surprised when they heard this. Yes, it's Fujiwara's child, Fujiwara Chiya. Because she saved Uchiha Izumi, who was the same age as her, during the Ninetales Rebellion. The two of them became closer. That's why she has been able to frequently enter and leave the Uchiha clan in the past 6 years. If she is asked to replace Shizu's job to monitor the situation of the Uchiha clan, it will not arouse anyone's suspicion. Sarutobi Hiruzen clapped his hands, and someone immediately brought Fujiwara Chiya's information from outside. The two Hokage advisors took a look, and Uchiha Koharu suddenly realized, this kid has a clean back and good ideological awareness. He is a good choice, but he hasn't graduated from the ninja school yet. Sarutobi Hiruzen said, you can rest assured about this. This kid has a very good foundation. His strength has long reached the graduation level, and he has never stopped practicing. He's just relatively low-key. As long as he is trained a little, his future is promising. Hearing this, Mitokado En and Uchiha Koharu looked at each other and did not comment. Then let him graduate early. Anyway, there is no point in letting him stay in the ninja school for the next year. But who do you plan to let be his team leader? Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for a moment and said, let Kyuubi go. It happens that Kyuubi has no missions recently. Select 2 of the Tejinin who were eliminated from the Chunin exam last year to form a team with Kyuubi and Chiya. Let them test Chiya's specific strength and then train him for a period of time. As long as he meets the minimum standards of the Anbu, he will be absorbed into the Anbu. Act as an undercover to monitor the Uchiha. Graduation? Kyuubi looked at the Chunin teacher with some surprise. The Chunin teacher smiled and said, yes, Kyuubi, you have mastered the art of clones now, and you are also very good in other aspects. The teacher is proud of you. Congratulations on your graduation. Graduation is no problem. But hasn't this school year just started? Kyuubi said lazily with a suspicious look in his eyes. The Chunin teacher smiled awkwardly. You really can't hide anything from you. In fact, this is the order of the Hokage himself. Hokage? Kyuubi heard the words and was immediately full of enthusiasm. Seeing this, the Chunin teacher smiled even more and patted Kyuubi on the shoulder. Yes, it's the Hokage. He has been watching your growth in secret. Really? Kyuubi used an extremely exaggerated tone. Of course it's true. How could it be false? This is your forehead protector, as well as your ninja tool bag and Kyuubi bag. Lord Hokage has high expectations for you, and the latter 2 are given to you by him, he said, handing out a ninja forehead protector, a ninja tool bag and a Kyuubi bag. I will definitely not let Lord Hokage down. I will contribute my own strength to Konoha. Kyuubi deliberately showed an extremely admiring look. The Chunin teacher smiled and said, come on. Then, the Chunin teacher announced Kyuubi's early graduation in front of the whole class. To this, everyone had no objection. Excluding the perverted Uchiha Itachi in the 1st grade, Kyuubi was considered the most outstanding student in this class. And today will be Kyuubi's last day of school. That night, Uchiha Izumi celebrated Kyuubi's promotion to Genin. The next morning, he equipped himself with a Jonin tool bag and a Kyuubi bag, took out the mirror flower and water moon, and wore it around his waist. According to the teacher's guidance, he came to an empty classroom in the ninja school and met up with his teammates and the leading teacher. When Kyuubi arrived at the classroom, both teammates were already there. One of the teammates was a blonde girl with twin ponytails, named Kyuubi, with a Lolita face, extremely fair and tender, and a hot body that was very inconsistent with her age. Chapter 16 Sunset Red. Another team member is a big fat man with a sturdy figure. He is a member of the Akimichi clan. His name is a bit funny, Akimichi Pansy, which sounds like Pansy. Like Akimichi Choji, one of the 12 young warriors of Konoha in the original work, Akimichi Pansy also loves to eat. He has never stopped eating since they met. Because there are no Yamanaka clans and Nara clans in this class, they cannot gather the Inoshikacho, so they were assigned to this class. After the three of them were assigned to the same class, they got to know each other briefly and stopped talking. Just when Kai and I thought that they would wait until the evening like Kakishi's class 7 in the original work, the classroom doors were pushed open. A beautiful woman walked in. Yes, you heard it right, a beautiful woman. A head of black curly hair with a middle part, red eyes, a cold and beautiful face, and a good figure. At first glance, she looks about 20 years old, but she has a maturity that a girl does not have. The overall appearance gives people a sensual beauty, which makes people feel pleasing to the eye. TSK. Those eyes, that hairstyle, that figure, cough cough, could it be Zirihan? Kayani complained crazily in his heart. After the beauty walked into the classroom, she looked at the three people, nodded slightly, walked to the podium, and wrote 3 big words on the blackboard. Zirihan. My name is Yuhi Kyunoi, a newly promoted special jonin of Konoha. My favorite foods are shochu, vodka and wasabi octopus. I hate cakes, and I'm good at illusions. This is my first time to be a team leader. Next, I will take you to receive tasks. From now on, you are my students. You can call me Kyunoi teacher or Yuhi teacher. Okay, now it's your turn to introduce yourselves. The only girl among the three, Ailey, raised her hand excitedly. My name is Akatsuki Ailey, and I'm good at Kyunoi teacher. You are so pretty, so pretty. Akimichi Hoji grabbed a handful of potato chips and stuffed them into his mouth. While chewing, he began to introduce himself. My name is Akimichi Hoji. My favorite foods are potato chips and barbecue, and I don't hate any food. I'm good at the doubling technique. When it was Fujiwara Chiya's turn, the long-lost system prompt sound suddenly rang in his mind. Ding. As the strongest lolly control of the generation, how can I let this big lolly in front of me be widowed by the short-lived Asuma Sarutobi? Choose. 1. After going forward to introduce yourself, kiss Yuhi Kyunoi's jade hand and confess to her. Reward perfect water attribute chakra and property change. 2. Let Yuhi Kyunoi be chased by Sarutobi Asuma and reward Yutatane Koharu's old underwear. Kayanai's mouth twitched fiercely when it came to underwear again, and it was the underwear of that old woman Yutatane Koharu. This is a rhythm of forcing him to social death. Akatsuki Eri on the side saw that Kayanai had not introduced himself for a long time, so she pushed him gently and reminded him in a low voice, Kayanai-jun, it's your turn to introduce yourself. Kayanai nodded slightly and said the answer he had already thought of in his heart. My name is Fujiwara Kayanai. My favorite food is scrambled eggs with green peppers, and I hate coriander and animal offal. I'm good at physical skills. At this point, he took a deep breath. As if he had made some kind of important decision, he walked up to Yuhi Kyunoi and asked seriously, Teacher Kyunoi, do you have a boyfriend? Not yet. Yuhi Kyunoi was stunned for a moment, and her pretty face instantly turned red. Although she was already a special jonin, she was still an inexperienced girl after all, and she was at a loss for a moment. Hearing this, Kayanai held her jade hand and kissed her lightly. Then go out with me, Teacher Kyunoi. Catcher. The eyes of Kyuubi and Kyuumichi Pansy exploded instantly. Even Yuhi Kyunoi, who was always self-sufficient and steady, couldn't help but panic. Suddenly, she felt her brain go blank. This was the first time in her life that someone confessed to her face. And it was a kid. Although this kid looked good and was said to have good talent. Oh my god, Yuhi Kyunoi, what on earth are you thinking about? Just as Zirihan was daydreaming, the system prompt sounded again in Kayanai's mind. Ding. Mission completed. Congratulations to the host for obtaining perfect water attribute chakra and property change. Kayanai's mouth corners raised a slight arc without a trace, and he stood up and said with a little regret, it seems that Teacher Hong still thinks I'm too young, so let's wait until we grow up to get together. As he spoke, Kayanai walked down the podium in the admiring eyes of Kyuubi and Kyudeo Pansy. Among them, Kyuubi directly gave Kayanai a thumbs up, as if to say, Kayanai, you are really awesome, you dare to tease even the teacher. At this time, Zirihan also reacted. Knowing that she was teased, her face turned blue and purple, and suddenly darkened. She suddenly called Kainai. Kainai. Here. Kainai turned around. He knew that his action just now had angered the other party. You just said you wanted to date the teacher, right? Zahikyo teleported behind Kainai and stroked his face with her jade hands. Is this the teleportation of a special jonin? Kainai saw Zahikyo's actions. His face was calm, and he said, yes. Then in the future, before you officially become a chunin, I will love you well. Zahikyo showed a dangerous smile on her face, and then turned her eyes to Akatsuki Eri and Akimichi Panji. You will gather at the training ground with me. Today I want to understand your strength well. Yes, the two of them sneered for no reason. Under their resentful eyes, the group came to the training ground. Zahikyo crossed her arms and said coldly, I will give you time to discuss tactics. We will attack together later. Don't worry about anything. Be prepared to kill me. I will love you well. The last sentence was said to Kainai. Hearing this, Akatsuki Eri and Akimichi Panji both had a solemn look in their eyes. Kyuubi said to Kainai, Kainai, although I admire your persistence in Teacher Hong, it seems that Teacher Hong is going to get serious. We can never be the opponent of the special jonin. I will act as bait later, and Panji will attack with the multiplication technique. Finally, take advantage of the gap when she dodges to use your best physical technique to deal with her. Teacher Hong is good at illusions, and physical techniques should be her weakness. No problem. Kainai looked meaningfully at Yukino not far away. Seeing that the other party was also looking here, he pulled out his Zanpakuto from his waist, bringing up a white light, and silently said in his heart, shatter it, Kagami Water Moon. The hypnosis ritual was completed, and Kainai did not intend to use Kagami Water Moon to fight in this situation, and sheathed the knife. Don't you use a knife. Kyuubi was stunned, and said in surprise. Kainai shook his head and deliberately raised his voice. This is not a life and death duel. What if Hong is injured? Chapter 17. Battle with the Jonin. Not far away, Zihi-Han heard Kainai didn't even call her teacher, and her mouth twitched with anger. She said impatiently, have you discussed it? I'm in a hurry. Oh, it's ready. Kainai smiled. Then let's start. Zihi-Han stood in place, and her whole momentum suddenly changed, and she entered the fighting state in an instant. Kainai and the other two looked at each other and nodded. Kyuubi took the lead, and threw a few shurikens, and took out the kunai. Zihi-Han just stood in place, and didn't even use the kunai. She easily dodged it with a few side steps. A flash suddenly appeared in front of Ailey, took the kunai, and punched her in the abdomen. Ailey retched, and her body flew backwards, instantly losing her fighting power. At this time, Panji's huge fist, which had been multiplied, fell over, accompanied by a roar, and the ground shook, and a shallow pit was punched out, and thick smoke billowed. Did you succeed? Kyuubi Panji retracted his fist, swallowed his saliva, and stared at the front closely. Not yet. Kainai's voice rang beside his ears, and at the same time, Yukino's voice rang, too naive. As soon as the voice fell, Yukino's jade feet landed on Panji's neck, kicking his fat body away, and the shallow pit made a dull bang, and a rotten wooden stake appeared out of thin air. It was obvious that Yukino was performing the substitute technique in the three-body technique. Next, it's your turn, Kainai. After dealing with two of the three people, Yukino finally looked at Fujiwara Chiya who was standing there, and did not move. Okay. But if I win Teacher Han by chance, you have to promise to date me when I grow up. Kainai smiled. If you can do it. Yukino was also ignited with a desire to win, and rushed up in one step. Although as Ailey said, her strength is illusion, and she is not good at physical skills, she is still a special jonin, and her physical skills are definitely not comparable to those of the newly graduated genin. But soon, she regretted it. Facing her series of physical attacks, Kainai was able to handle them with ease, and his strength was amazing, which was not what a child under the age of 12 could possess. Every time their limbs collided, there would be a tingling sensation at the contact point, as if the one fighting with her was not a human, but a body of steel. Who is this kid? Could it be that he has also practiced steel fist like K? Zihi-Han was secretly surprised, and the defeated Akatsuki Eri and Akimichi Panji also exclaimed, so strong, he can actually fight with Teacher Han. Teacher Hong, it seems that you are destined to become my second daughter-in-law in the future. Kainai laughed lightly and teased. He did not use his skills, but relied on his strong physique to use basic physical skills to fight Ziri Hong. Don't be so proud. Ziri Hong did not expect to encounter a thorn in the first time she was a leader. If she didn't teach the other party a lesson today, how could she lead the team in the future? Immediately, he pulled the distance between the two of them in an instant, formed seals with his hands, and suddenly turned into a liquid and dissipated on the spot. At the same time, a sapling grew under Kainai's feet, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a towering tree, binding his limbs. The illusion of Neroku clone was activated. Kid, you are still too young. The ground squirmed, and Yuhi Kyono's real body slowly floated up. Really? Kainai's voice suddenly sounded beside Yuhi Kyono's ears, and the latter's pupils suddenly dilated. The next moment, she felt a chill on her neck, and a kunai was suddenly placed on her neck. Akatsuki Eri and Akimichi Pansy, who had been watching from a distance, looked confused and had no idea what was happening to the two of them. What on earth was going on? Why did Teacher Hong stand still, and then began to talk to herself, and finally Kainai walked slowly behind her, and placed a kunai on her neck. Ponji-kun, do you know what happened? Akatsuki Eri looked at Akimichi Ponji, whose face was swollen at the moment, but he was still struggling to eat potato chips. Resisting the stinging pain, Akimichi Ponji grabbed a handful of potato chips and stuffed them into his mouth. While chewing, he shook his head. I don't know, but it looks amazing. How did you do it? Yuhi Kyono took a deep breath, feeling a little disappointed. As a special jonin, he actually lost to a kid who just graduated from a ninja school. What kind of thing is this? Kainai put away his kunai, pointed at the clone tied to the tree opposite to Ziri Hong, and chuckled. Teacher Hong, it is mentioned in the textbook of the ninja school that illusion is a technique that uses chakra to interfere with the opponent's 5 senses, disrupt the opponent's chakra, and make him fall into illusion. Although I don't know what seal you made, you said that you are good at illusion. So before the battle started, I began to disrupt the chakra in my body constantly so that your illusion could not take effect. Finally, I took advantage of the gap between you performing illusions to release the clone to confuse people. Teacher Hong, you are careless. As soon as the voice fell, Kainai's clone and the tree dissipated at the same time, and the ground slowly returned to its original state. I see, it is indeed me who lost. I didn't expect that you could beat me with the most basic clone technique among the 3 body techniques. It seems that what the 3rd generation said is right. You are indeed a genius. Ziri Hong showed a self-deprecating smile on her face. Teacher Hong, you are too kind. You are letting me win on purpose. If it was a life and death battle, I'm afraid I would be a corpse now. Kainai acted like a Versailles again, with a flash of coldness in his eyes. The 3rd generation had sent people to monitor him secretly, so how could Kainai, who was extremely sensitive, not know? However, in the past 5 or 6 years, no matter where he went, or who he met, he would habitually release the Mirror Flower and Water Moon whenever he had the chance. The self that the 3rd generation monitored was, most of the time, just an illusion. Otherwise, how could he have developed safely, and in a wretched manner? Now, he relied on the fairy chakra stored in the Mirror Flower and Water Moon and the Xiangangju. It was enough to protect himself. And the tip of the iceberg strength he showed in defeating Yuhi Hong this time was just to make it easier for him to show the Mirror Flower and Water Moon to more people in Konoha in the future. Losing is losing, winning is winning, no need to make excuses for me. But, after changing the subject, Ziri Hong's face suddenly showed a sly smile. Why don't you call me Hong now? Are you serious? Kainai was startled, with a playful smile on his face, and met Ziri Hong's eyes. Ziri Hong also ignited the desire to win, and the two stared at each other for a long time. In the end, Ziri Hong's pretty face blushed and lost, smacking her lips and said, "Pa, you are a little brat. I really don't know what you learned in school. You guys, today's matter is confidential. No one is allowed to tell anyone. Remember to gather here on time tomorrow, and no one will be waiting after the time." The latter sentence was said to Ailey and Pansy. After speaking, she looked back at Kainai again, and her figure flashed, and Zyrolu plopped away. Looking at Ziri Hong's figure in the distance, Kyono's smile suddenly stopped, and he murmured in his heart, she is still a good little girl. PS. First update. Thanks to Ranyan Huo for the reward of 1500 starting coins. Thanks to Bookfriend **0097 for the reward of 500 starting coins. Thanks to Bookfriend **444 for the reward of 100 starting coins. Chapter 18. The daily fight between the third generation of Danzo. On the other side, after leaving the training ground, Kyuubi came to the Konoha Hokage building as soon as possible. Hokage-sama. Kuro is back. How is it? Is Chiya okay? Sarutobi Hiruzen put down his pipe and asked gently. I lost. Kyuubi frankly admitted the fact that she lost to Chiya. Oh. Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his eyebrows imperceptibly, and a touch of emotion flashed across his eyes. According to the information he had, although Chiya had good talent, he was far from being able to defeat Kyuubi. Could it be that he was hiding something? Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes calmly. Tell me about the details. He likes geniuses, but he never likes geniuses that are beyond his control. Yes, Hokage-sama. As she spoke, Kyuubi told the story of her battle with Chiya. In the middle, she omitted the part where Chiya teased her. I see. It seems that you were indeed careless, Kyuubi. Knowing that Chiya used the knowledge in the ninja school textbooks to break Kyuubi's illusion, and won by taking advantage of Kyuubi's carelessness, Sarutobi Hiruzen's brows relaxed instantly. That's right. A genius without the blood limit will at best be the second Kakashi in the future. He will only be an assistant to the Hokage, and is far less threatening than Uchiha, so there is no need to care about him. Sorry, Hokage, I disappoint you. Kyuubi apologized. Just pay attention next time. Remember not to underestimate anyone in the future. I think that child seems to have the talent for illusion, so you should teach him more about illusion in the future. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood up and knocked on his pipe, saying meaningfully, this child has a very pitiful life experience. In fact, he is the same as you. He too. Kyuubi was startled and suddenly recalled the scene 6 years ago when his father, Kyuubi, resolutely rushed towards the Ninetales to protect the village and happily died. An inexplicable sadness surged in his heart. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. His parents died in the Ninetales rebellion to protect the village, so let this child grow up as soon as possible. I know, Hokage-sama. Kyuubi responded respectfully and left the Hokage's office. She covered her chest with her jade hands, feeling bad for a while. As a fellow wanderer, no one knew better than her how painful it was to watch her parents die. At that time, she was already a teenager, and Kyuubi was only 5 or 6 years old. At the same time, she recalled the battle between the two. Suddenly, she realized that she seemed to have thought too much. Although this kid named Kyuubi was good at physical skills, the skills he mastered were at best 3 body skills. The reason why he was able to defeat her was because she did not take this battle seriously from the beginning. But that kid was really hateful. He actually confessed to her in public, kissed her hand, and teased her many times. Thinking of this, Kyuubi's pretty face couldn't help but turn red, feeling ashamed and annoyed, and secretly swore in her heart, damn brat, I will definitely teach you a lesson next time. As soon as Kyuubi left, an Anbu came in. Hokage-sama, Danzo-sama is here. The Anbu ninja knelt on one knee and said respectfully, let him in. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned when he heard this. As early as a few days ago, he sent someone to notify Danzo to come. As a result, it was delayed until now, which clearly showed that he didn't take him, the Hokage, seriously. Hokage-sama, Danzo-sama, it seems that he is not convenient to see you. He said he is waiting in the conference room. The Anbu ninja said nervously. I know. Although he was dissatisfied with Danzo in his heart, considering his approachable and gentle image in the hearts of his subordinates, he still resisted the urge to get angry and got up and went to the fully enclosed conference room. Hiruzen, you are here. At this time, Danzo's left hand had been installed with a prosthesis, and from the outside, it was impossible to tell what had changed. HMPH. Sarutobi Hiruzen swung his sleeves in annoyance and sat down. Danzo, look at what you have done. You already know? Danzo frowned. Could it be that his attempt to steal a chicken, but ended up with a loss of rice has been known? Danzo, you have gone too far this time. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't care about anything and started to blame him. Too far? Danzo smiled coldly. How am I going too far? I did this all for the village. Ninjas are supposed to sacrifice themselves. For the village, sacrificing a mere Uchiha Shisu is nothing. Danzo sat on the chair and looked into Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes, neither of them giving in. I know what you want to say. It's nothing more than that Shisu is an excellent ninja who inherited the will of the mirror and carries the will of fire. But have you ever thought that once he has evil intentions, controls you and me, and then asks the Uchiha clan to launch a coup, Konoha will fall into an irreparable situation. The foundation created by the first generation will be destroyed. As the root of Konoha, I have no choice but to take precautions for the sake of the village. Danzo spoke loudly. At the end, he stood up excitedly. He didn't intend to excuse himself, but sincerely believed that the power of the Uchiha clan should be restricted. Even eliminate this unstable factor that may endanger Konoha. If not, he wouldn't have lost his left arm. Why is he like this now? As if he was cursed by some kind of curse. Once the new limb is attached, it will immediately die. Can only use a prosthesis. Is this the reason why you took his eyes? Danzo's words did not surprise Sarutobi Hiruzen. Or rather, this is exactly the result he wanted. But the knock still needs to be knocked. Otherwise, one day, Danzo will become too powerful to be defeated, and will even become more aggressive, and ride on the head of him, the strongest Hokage in history. However, when these words came out, Danzo's expression could not help but be stunned. Don't you know yet? Know what? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned and asked. I didn't get Shisu's eyes. As he spoke, Danzo lifted his sleeves, revealing his prosthetic limbs, and told him about the seizure of the Sharingan and the peaches being picked halfway. He even said that he couldn't move to a new arm. Are you telling the truth? Sarutobi Hiruzen's face suddenly became solemn. Do you think I would sacrifice one of my arms just to lie to you? Danzo said unhappily. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not refute. Indeed, although Danzo often said ninjas must sacrifice themselves when it was really his turn, he couldn't do it. To put it bluntly, Danzo was a person who was more afraid of death than himself. At the very least, when Konoha really reached the point of life and death, it would be his turn. He will sacrifice when he has to. He will never be afraid of death. This is the most essential difference between him and Danzo. Otherwise, he would not have been able to take over the position of Hokage from the second Hokage. PS. Second update. Chapter 19 Hiruzen, you will regret it. Do you have any suspects? Sarutobi Hiruzen lit his pipe and asked in a deep voice. Danzo said in a deep voice, I have suspected you. But on second thought, you always bask in the sun, you would never do such a thing. Then there is only one possibility. Sarutobi Hiruzen asked quickly, who? Danzo sat down again, his face gloomy. Do you still remember the person who controlled the Ninetales to attack Konoha? It was him? Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly realized. Danzo said in a deep voice, except for the deceased second and fourth generations, and the fourth Raikage of the Kyuubi, no one else can have that level of instant body. Not even Shisu can do it. Only the Uchiha thief who controlled the Ninetales can do it. The last few words Uchiha thief were particularly heavy in Danzo's tone. Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen was silent for a long time before he spoke. I understand. But the village has just stabilized, so this matter ends here. You don't have to interfere anymore. I will send someone to investigate this matter. Danzo said, is it Uchiha Itachi again? He was the last person to see Uchiha Shisu. It is very likely that Shisu's left eye was entrusted to him, but he did not mention this to you. Uchiha Itachi is no longer trustworthy. No, not him. As he spoke, Sarutobi Hiruzen told Danzo about the fact that he sent Fujiwara Chiya as an undercover agent. Confused, Danzo said angrily, Hiruzen, how do you know that the boy will not be bribed by the Uchiha clan? What if he leaks our information to the Uchiha clan? Sarutobi Hiruzen said, Danzo, you are too suspicious. Chiya is a child of Fujiwara. Both his parents sacrificed themselves to protect the village, and he inherited his parents' will, and was determined to protect the village in Konoha. He is just a civilian, not the Uchiha you are afraid of. That's hard to say. As long as he marries a little girl from the Uchiha family, he is a member of the Uchiha family. It's better for me. Danzo made a gesture of wiping his neck with a sinister look. Enough, Danzo, I'm the Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood up and slammed the table, shouting, Hiruzen, you will regret it. Danzo gritted his teeth, slammed the table, and left. He became more and more determined to become the Hokage. The next day, Chiya arrived at the training ground on time according to the time agreed by Yuhi. Each team will have a running-in period in the early stage of formation, so there will be no missions in the first 3 days. During this period, the leading ninja should not only understand the strength of each team member in order to arrange tactics, but also give appropriate guidance in ninjutsu. Akatsuki Eri and Akimichi Hoji have their families to rely on, so there is no need for Yuhi to worry about ninjutsu. After confirming that they have no talent for illusion, she simply guided their training progress and sent them to practice. Until it was Kainai's turn, she formed a seal and cast the illusion of the 3 absolute cherry blossoms on Kainai. Kainai, you have a good talent for illusion. This is the illusion of the 3 absolute cherry blossoms, which can make the enemy see the petals, thereby confusing the enemy and launching a surprise attack. If you practice it to a high level, you can even control the petals to cover the enemy, thereby restricting the opponent's actions and even suffocating them to death. Its seal and casting principle is, as she spoke, Yuhi figure suddenly turned into petals and dissipated in Kainai's eyes. Do you understand? Zirihang's voice sounded beside Kainai's ears, and the petals condensed again, and the graceful body appeared in front of Kainai again. Kainai nodded. For him who had swallowed Shisu's blood and possessed the mirror flower and water moon, his talent for illusion was directly maximum doubt. According to Zirihang's words, his hands quickly formed seals. In an instant, the whole person suddenly turned into petals and disappeared in Zirihang's eyes. This is. Zirihang was in a sea of cherry blossoms and lost her voice in shock. She looked at everything in front of her in disbelief, and her eyes flashed with excitement. Teacher Hong, do I think I have learned it now? Kainai's voice sounded from all directions, as if every petal was his true body, making it difficult for people to see the truth. The petals condensed quickly, and Kainai's figure reappeared. At this moment, Zirihang seemed to see the figure of his father Zirizenhang from Kainai. His eyes were dull for a moment. It was not until Kainai reminded him that he came to his senses and exclaimed, "You are really amazing. Kainai, in the future you will definitely become a Jinjutsu ninja that surpasses me. No, you will definitely become a Jinjutsu ninja that surpasses the Uchiha clan." Kainai smiled indifferently and did not deny it. Half a year passed in a flash, and the new Chunin exam is about to come. Kainai is almost 12 years old and has carried out many large and small tasks with Yuhi. During this period, he encountered various opponents, including a senior ninja, who was all solved by Kainai's superb Jinjutsu. Because of his efficient task completion rate, Kainai became famous among the Konoha ninjas for a while. Konoha, Hokage's office. Like the previous session, the team leaders arrived one after another and recommended their students to Konoha F4 to participate in the Chunin exam. Yuhi was naturally among them. When it was Yuhi turn, she respectfully handed over the information of Kainai and the other 2, Hokage-sama, to advisors. Danzo-sama, this is the place I recommend for the Chunin exam. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a symbolic look at the information of Akatsuki Eri and Akimichi Hji, and then handed it to Danzo and the other 2. While looking at Kainai's information, he said, I heard that Kainai has been very active in missions recently. Yes, Hokage-sama, he is a true genius in illusion, and he has outstanding talents in ninjutsu and taijutsu. I have nothing to teach him. Yuhi replied respectfully. As soon as these words came out, not only Sarutobi Hiruzen, but also the other 3 members of Konoha F4, as well as the team leader present, could not help but look over. The huge Hokage's office suddenly became dead silent. Yuhi gave Kainai a very high evaluation, to a degree that could not be described in words. It was just short of saying that Kainai already had the strength of a Jonin. Such a situation last occurred to Uchiha Itachi. Danzo glanced at Sarutobi Hiruzen with uncertainty for a long time, and then spoke first, breaking the silent atmosphere in the field. Yuhi, can I understand that Kainai already has the strength of a Jonin, or even surpasses you? Yes, Lord Danzo. Yuhi did not comment. Only those who have been with Kainai can understand her terrifying ninja talent. Although the two have only been together for more than half a year, Kainai's strength has almost always grown at a speed visible to the naked eye. Up to now, Kainai has learned all her illusions, and has surpassed herself in ninjutsu and taijutsu. She really has nothing to be friends with. Perhaps this is what people often call a genius. PS. First update. Chapter 20 Danzo's Plan. As soon as Yuhi finished speaking, the originally silent Hokage office suddenly became lively, and the team leaders began to whisper and discuss. Only Danzo looked extremely ugly, suspicious by nature, and jealous of talented people. He even had a hint of murderous intent towards Kainai in his heart. And he had already found a reason for himself. On the one hand, Kainai had an affair with the little girl of the Uchiha family. He seriously suspected that Kainai might have secretly defected to the Uchiha clan, and even planned to marry into the family. On the other hand, this might be the second Namikaze Minato. Now that their Konoha Ref 4 members are old, Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third generation Hokage, even if he has now returned to the position of Hokage, will only be in office for a dozen years at most, or even 7 or 8 years before stepping down. By then, it will be time to run for the 5th generation Hokage. And relying on Kainai's talent, clean background, and the degree of admiration for Sarutobi Hiruzen. When Sarutobi Hiruzen reaches the age where he has to step down in order to firmly grasp the power, he will most likely train Chiya as the second Namikaze Minato. Support Chiya to become the 5th Hokage. Once Chiya gets the support of Sarutobi Hiruzen, the former Hokage families like Inoshika Chiya will definitely respond to the call. As for the Uchiha family, because of Chiya's relationship with the little girl of the Uchiha family, I'm afraid they will also stand up and choose to support. It was not easy to wait until the 3rd generation stepped down, but Namikaze Minato came to power. Then it was not easy to wait until Namikaze Minato died in battle, but the 3rd generation came to power again. If there is another Chiya, it will repeat itself. By then, wouldn't it be a long time before he, Danzo, ascends to the position of Hokage? This is absolutely something he cannot tolerate. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know that Danzo had thought so far in such a short time. He was also shocked by Chiya's progress and couldn't help but feel a little dreadful. Then he remembered that Kainai was not from the Uchiha family, nor did he have any blood limit. He was a commoner with a good family background. The upper limit was there. At best, he could be the second Kakashi or the second Yuhi Shinku. He felt relieved. He looked at each other with Utatane Koharu and Mito Kadoen. The latter two nodded knowingly and were about to speak. Danzo on the side became anxious when he saw this. He didn't want to give Kainai a chance to gain prestige in Konoha. He immediately used the same old tricks that he used to deal with Uchiha Itachi. Praise him to death. Before his worldview is formed, guide him a little. It would be best to lead him into darkness and gradually become a member of the root. He immediately spoke first. Since Yuhi thinks that Fujiwara Chiya already has the strength comparable to that of a Jonin, then I think he doesn't need to participate in this Chunin exam. At this point, Danzo turned his eyes to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Hiruzen, how about this? Let our top management formulate an assessment specifically for him. If he passes the assessment, he will be promoted directly to Chunin. What do you think? It's not impossible, but there has been no precedent since the establishment of the Chunin exam. Sarutobi Hiruzen was as hesitant as ever, but Danzo's idea undoubtedly coincided with his. The Uchiha family was getting more and more noisy. The situation was even worse than when Uchiha Shizu was alive. If a civil war broke out, it would be a disaster for Konoha. Therefore, it was urgent to send another traitor to the Uchiha clan. Precedents always need to be created, don't they? Just like Uchiha Itachi, even in peacetime, he only spent 1 year to graduate from the ninja school and then grew up to become the backbone of Konoha. The old fox's conversation is always full of calculations. Danzo knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen was moved and deliberately used Uchiha Itachi as an example, which means that I agree to let Kainai act as an undercover agent of the Uchiha clan. You just need to let him become a Chunin in advance. Koharu, Yan. What do you think? Sarutobi Hiruzen agreed in his heart when he heard it, but he still symbolically asked the two Hokage consultants for their opinions. In this regard, the two fence sitters who have always been hovering between Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo naturally would not object. This matter is considered to be finalized. After leaving the Hokage building, Yuhi found Kainai and the other two, and told them about the arrangements for the Chunin exam. The specific situation is this. Kainai, you don't need to participate in the Chunin exam in a month. The Hokage will arrange a separate assessment for you in a few days. For Alien Pangxi, the Hokage will select a team of senior genin for them to form a 3-person team. It seems that those old guys can't hold back anymore, but this is just what I want. Next, let all of you become captives of my Jinghua Shuayu. Kainai sneered in his heart. Kyuubi heard the words, and hugged Kainai into her huge and soft arms, crying bitterly, woo woo. Kainai-jun, I can't bear to leave you after more than half a year of getting along. The three of them will more or less have a trace of friendship. Although Kainai is usually cold and doesn't talk to them much, every time at a critical moment, he is always unexpectedly reliable and saves them from danger several times. From the bottom of her heart, Kyuubi likes this little brother who is several years younger than her. Of course, this is just the kind of love between a sister and a brother. After all, in this cannibalistic world of Naruto, only a few people are in love. People are more concerned about how to survive, rather than thinking about falling in love every day. Otherwise, they would have died 1,000 times. Feeling the softness of the girl and her faint body fragrance, Kainai felt pain and happiness, and his old face blushed. Seeing this, Zeha hung on the side, was so angry that her teeth itched. Recalling the first time she met Kainai, when she confessed to herself, and the days and nights together for more than half a year, she silently said in her heart, don't be angry, don't be angry. Suddenly, a vinegar smell appeared in the air, and Akimichi Pangxi, on the other hand, was still acting as a spectator, putting handfuls of potato chips into his mouth. Sensing that something was wrong with Yuhi, Kainai didn't care about enjoying himself, and quickly got out of Ailey's arms. Ailey, there's no need to do this. It's not like we won't see each other again in the future. Woo woo. But I still can't bear to leave you. It wasn't until Yuhi spoke that Ailey ended the farce. So she suggested, how about this, when Kainai-kun is promoted to Chunin, let's all come to our barbecue restaurant to celebrate for Kainai-kun. Barbecue. Upon hearing this, Akimichi Pangxi, who was originally a spectator, instantly lit up, and his round little eyes flashed with excitement. Does your family run a barbecue restaurant? Kainai said with some surprise. PS. Second update. Chapter 21. The third generation. Kainai is the successor of the Will of Fire. As far as Kainai knows, apart from the Uchiha clan, there is only one barbecue restaurant in Konoha village. He has been there several times with Uchiha Izumi. It seems to be called Kozo BBQ Restaurant. Of course, it's opened by my father. When talking about her father, Akatsuki excitedly covered her chest with both hands, and a faint blush appeared on her cute face. Excuse me, who is your father? Seeing that Eri showed her father control, Kainai's mouth twitched fiercely, and he secretly complained in his heart, this guy's father couldn't be Akatsuki Kozo. Akatsuki Kozo. Ailey blushed, with a look of admiration on her face, and smiled. Kainai's mouth twitched fiercely. Damn, it's really a asterisk. Black hair, a Konoha ninja forehead guard tied on the forehead, handsome and prominent facial features, wearing a black tight combat uniform, with a Zanpakuto Kyokusu Jetsu and a ninja bag on the waist, a Kune bag tied on the right leg, more than 1.7 meters tall, with a very well proportioned and slender figure. This is how Kainai looks and dresses now. 3 days later, Kainai came to the Hokage's office under the leadership of Yuhi. Hokage-sama, I brought Kainai here. Kainai, come on, say hello to Hokage-sama. The latter sentence was said to Kainai. Hello, Hokage-sama. I have admired you since I was very young. You are the strongest and greatest Hokage in Konoha's history. For the village. My biggest dream is to be a great ninja like you. Adhering to the character setting of worshipping the third generation Hokage, Kainai didn't care about anything and blew a rainbow fart to Sarutobi Hiruzen as soon as he came. He mentioned Sarutobi Hiruzen's glorious resume in the ninja school textbook. That look was like a fan in the previous life seeing his favorite singer. He was just about to scream. Yuhi Kurenoi heard the words and the corners of her mouth twitched fiercely. She suddenly found that Kainai was a little different from the person she usually knew. At this time, Sarutobi Hiruzen was secretly looking at Chiya, trying to see something from the latter. He saw that the other party said that he admired him as soon as he came and listed his glorious resume one by one with a pair of clear black eyes, and there was no trace of falsehood. He couldn't help but feel more favorable towards him. Sure enough, Danzo was suspicious. An excellent ninja who inherited the will of fire was determined to protect the village and admired him so much as the strongest Hokage of all generations. How could he betray Konoha? It was pure nonsense. Sarutobi Hiruzen chuckled. Haha, you are such a sensible child. Kainai, this is our first official meeting, but I've noticed you since you were very young. You are an excellent ninja who has inherited the will of fire just like your parents. I'm proud of you. Kainai said nonsense in a serious tone. Thank you for the compliment, Hokage-sama. Kainai will work hard for Hokage-sama in the village until his death. Look at this expression, this tone. He put the Hokage before the village. It was as if he would gladly die for Konoha, as long as the third Hokage gave the order. No matter how you look at it, he is an excellent successor to the will of fire. Devote all your energy to the cause, and never stop until your death. Sarutobi Hiruzen repeated. The more he looked at Kainai, the more he liked her. He laughed and said, it's good that you have this intention, but now is not a war era. Don't keep talking about life and death. You are the new buds of Konoha. What is needed now is to thrive. Konoha still needs you to pass it on. I will definitely live up to the trust of the Hokage. Kainai stood in awe. Anyway, flattery is free, just flatter it. This gave Yuhi Kurenoi, who was standing aside, goosebumps all over her body. Is this still the Kainai who calmly dealt with everything in the past? Yeah. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not notice the change in Yuhi Kurenoi's expression. At this time, he was already happy to be blown away by Kainai's rainbow fart. He stood up and said, I guess Kurenoi has told you about the promotion to Chunin. Yes, Hokage. Kainai said respectfully. Then come with me. Hang said that you already have the strength comparable to that of a Jonin. This is a good opportunity to test it. If you can really show enough strength, then I can make an exception and let you be promoted to Jonin. As he spoke, Sarutobi Hiruzen walked out of the Hokage's office first. Chiya and Yuhi Kurenoi looked at each other and followed closely. Soon, the three of them came to an open space adjacent to the outer area of the Death Forest. At this time, including Danzo, the two Hokage advisors, and many Enbu, many core figures of Konoha were almost all present. Uchiha Itachi and Kakashi were also among them. The others were only slightly curious when they saw Chiya coming, and did not show much emotional change, but Uchiha Itachi's face under the fox mask looked particularly solemn, because under the gaze of his Manjuki Sharingan, Chiya seemed to become more and more unfathomable. The extremely powerful and strange chakra on his body seemed to be deliberately hidden. If he did not have the Manjuki Sharingan, I'm afraid he would not be able to detect it. Uchiha Itachi thought to himself, could it be you who snatched Shizu's right eye? Kainai, you suddenly became so flamboyant. What is your purpose? What everyone didn't know was that Uchiha Itachi, who had zero emotional intelligence, but a very high IQ in other aspects, had begun to suspect Kainai was the mysterious person who took advantage of Danzo and snatched Shizu's right eye. Of course, the object of suspicion was not just Kainai. There was also the masked man Uchiha Obito who killed his teammates when he was 8 years old and made him open his Sharingan. Kainai's perception was so sharp that he naturally noticed Uchiha Itachi's unfriendly look. But he didn't care too much. Anyway, his goal would soon be achieved. Kainai, these two are the Hokage advisors, Lord Utane Koharu and Lord Mitaman. As for this one, he is the leader of the Konoha route, Lord Shimura Danzo. After walking up to them, Yuhi Kurenoi introduced Kainai in a low voice. Upon hearing this, Kainai acted extremely sunny and respectful, bowed to the three old foxes, Master Koharu, Master En, Master Danzo. Utane Koharu and Mitamonen nodded, obviously very satisfied with Kainai's attitude, while Danzo remained expressionless. He hated the sun very much, and said indifferently, "Since you are here, let's start. Your opponent is him. Kakashi, come out." As soon as the words fell, a man with long white hair wearing an Anbu outfit and a dog head mask came out. "Take Kakashi, I didn't expect to meet in this way." Kainai's eyes flashed with a hint of playfulness, and he thought to himself, "PS, first update, please recommend and vote for me." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Chiya vs Kakashi. Danzo continued, "I believe you must have heard of the name of Kakashi Hatake's copy ninja. Yuhi Kyonoi said that your strength has surpassed her teacher. Today, as long as you can hold on for one stick of incense in Kakashi's hands, you will pass the Chunin test. At the same time, if you can show enough strength and then get the approval of Konoha's high level and the elite Anbu, you can be promoted to Jonin by exception." "I know, Danzo," Kainai said solemnly. "Then everyone, please take your seats." Danzo still had a gloomy face and waved his hand impatiently. The four members of Konoha F4 sat in the VIP seats. Yuhi Kyonoi and Uchiha Izumi, who was wearing Anbu uniforms, stood on both sides of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo respectively. The other Anbu continued to lurk in the surrounding trees. A huge open space was cleared in the center of the field, and Kainai and Kakashi stood 20 steps apart. An Anbu stood between the two and acted as a referee. "Then let's start," Sarutobi Hiruzen said to the referee. "Fight." The referee shouted in a long voice, jumped back, and left the battle circle. Kainai and Kakashi formed tiger seals with their right hands at the same time, to show respect to their opponents. "Begin." The moment the referee's voice fell, Kainai moved, quickly forming seals with both hands, and suddenly his whole body turned into cherry blossom petals, and disappeared in front of everyone. Illusion. 3 absolute Sakura activated. Illusion? This child's strength has grown to this point. Sarutobi Hiruzen formed seals casually, disrupting his own chakra, and removing the influence of Kainai's illusion on himself. Others, except Uchiha Izumi who had the main Juki Sharingan, also followed suit, and made corresponding movements. In their hearts, they were all shocked by Kainai's attainments in illusion. Swish, swish, swish. A knife flashed, accompanied by the sound of a sharp blade cutting through the air. When most people in the field had not completely lifted the illusion, a pure white blade broke through the air, and Kainai's figure also appeared, and the sharp blade pierced straight towards Kakashi's head. So fast. Not only the speed, but also the hand seals and the strength are all outstanding. Kakashi was startled, and the lazy look in his eyes suddenly disappeared. He dared not despise him anymore, and immediately drew out the sword behind him to block. "Break it, Kagami Kazuki," Kainai said silently in his heart. He did not mean to break Kakashi's sword, but deliberately restrained his strength. When everyone in the field focused their attention on the Zanpakuto, he released Kagami Kazuki. Then he continued to swing his sword, to compete with Kakashi in physical skills. Kagami Kazuki and Kakashi's swords kept colliding, and sparks flew in the air. Not only illusions, but also physical skills and instant body skills have reached a very high level. Even among the Jonin, he is also a leader. "Kyonoi, it seems that you have taught a good student." On the judge's seat, Sarutobi Hiruzen stroked his goatee, commented on him, and said to Yuhi Kyonoi with a calm attitude. The other two Hokage advisors also showed some appreciation in their eyes. As for Danzo, his eyes were uncertain, and no one knew what he was thinking. As for Uchiha Izumi, he was more and more surprised. With the main Juki Sharingan, his eyesight had already surpassed everyone present. He vaguely saw that Kainai seemed to have been hiding something, and had not tried his best. "You are too kind, Hokage. I just provided some insignificant help. The key to Kainai's current strength is still up to him." Yuhi Kyonoi knew her own strength very well. Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen's praise, she hurried to explain. While the two were talking, Kainai and Kakashi had fought for dozens of rounds, using various ninja tools and instant body techniques, and occasionally performing the three-body technique. In the eyes of ordinary people, they can only see two after images, constantly colliding in the air, rubbing out a row of sparks. Finally, when the incense was about to burn out, the two of them tacitly stopped the physical skills competition, because Kainai's current physical skills were about the same as Kakashi's, and their control of various opportunities was also on par with each other. There was no big result if they continued to compete. This would only make the incense burn out, and Kainai would win without a fight. Senior Kakashi, you are really worthy of being a copy ninja, so powerful. Kainai used honorifics. He quickly formed seals with both hands. The same to you. Be careful Kainai, the next wave of attacks is coming. Kakashi's eyes showed a touch of approval, and his sword pierced the ground. While his hands were quickly forming seals, he sighed in his heart, excluding the blood limit. This is a genius who is not inferior to Uchiha Itachi. Fire escape. Great fireball technique. Kakashi took a deep breath, and a huge fireball spurted out of his mouth, like a huge sun, so dazzling. After Kainai finished the seal, he just stood there in a daze, letting the fireball swallow him. Kainai. Seeing this, Yuhi thought that Kainai had not avoided the attack and shouted excitedly. Don't worry, Kainai's strength is stronger than you think. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face was still calm, and he explained calmly. Although he had been away from the battlefield for a long time, he still had the necessary eyesight. It's Hokage-sama. Hearing this, Yuhi also knew that he had lost his composure and hurriedly apologized. Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand indifferently and continued to watch Kainai and Kakashi's battle. The flames dissipated, and a shallow pit of a medium size was burned out where Kainai stood. Kainai curled up in the deep pit with scars all over his body, and he had lost consciousness. Did it work? Kakashi murmured and walked closer to the shallow pit to check. Just as he was about to approach, Kainai in the shallow pit suddenly made a bang, and turned into smoke and dissipated. It was actually a shadow clone. Earth escape. The technique of beheading in the heart. The next moment, with a cry, Kakashi was dragged underground. In less than a second, only his head was exposed. Senior Kakashi, it seems that I won this time. Kainai's figure slowly rose from the ground. That's hard to say. Kakashi's voice suddenly sounded behind Kainai, and after he finished speaking, the sword was already on his neck, and the Kakashi who was dragged underground by the heart beheading technique turned into smoke and dissipated with a bang. How did you see through it, Sharingan? Kainai did not turn around, nor did he show a panic expression, and said lightly, yes. Kakashi did not deny. From the hand seal you just made, I can see that you are preparing the Earth Core beheading technique and shadow clone. The Earth Core beheading technique is suitable for sneak attacks, but in a certain sense, it is also the most suitable technique to avoid frontal ninjutsu attacks. You can think of combining the two techniques together and perform them in such a short time. Kainai, I have to say that you are really amazing. PS. Second update. Chapter 23, Promotion to Jonin. Kainai smiled and said, it's an honor to receive the praise of the copy ninja. But after these two techniques, I have released another technique. After he finished speaking, magic tree binding kill. It was already activated. Kainai suddenly disappeared from Kakashi and everyone else's sight. At the same time, a sapling grew rapidly from under Kakashi's feet, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a tree that several people could hug. Clang. The sword fell from Kakashi's hand, and his body was bound by the tree, unable to extricate himself. Kainai slowly got out of the tree, holding his Zanpakuto, and pointed at Kakashi. Magic tree binding kill. Can you even use this trick? You really deserve to be the genius of illusion in Hang's mouth. Kakashi looked up at Kainai, his face solemn. Same here. Senior Kakashi is still more powerful. I'm afraid that you are just another clone now. Kainai put away the blade and lifted the illusion. Yeah. Kakashi responded in a low voice without denying it. The whole person turned into lightning and disappeared in front of everyone, and his real body came out from the hole in the ground where Kainai had performed the beheading technique in his mind. Kainai sheathed his sword, and Kakashi also put away his sword. Neither of them attacked again, so the incense had burned out. Time is up. With the referee's announcement, the fight officially ended, and Kainai and Kakashi made a seal of reconciliation. The battle came to an end. Papa. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood up and clapped his hands, praising Kainai. I didn't expect you could fight Kakashi to this extent. It's amazing. Hokage, you are too polite. This is just senior Kakashi playing with me. Kainai began his usual verses. If he had used the lightning shadow clone to paralyze me just now, and then launched a surprise attack, I'm afraid I would be in trouble. What's more, senior Kakashi still has his famous skill Reikiri, that he has never used. He is not arrogant or impatient, knows how to be humble, and is a successor to the Will of Fire. He is a good seedling. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed in his heart. The more he looked at Kainai, the more satisfied he was. He looked around and said loudly, I think you have all seen Kainai's strength just now. There is no doubt that he has completed the Chunin assessment. I have said in advance that, if Kainai can show enough strength, he can be promoted to Jonin as an exception. Now everyone will vote by raising your hands. Those who agree with Kainai's promotion to Jonin, please raise your hands. As he spoke, Sarutobi Hiruzen was the first to raise his hand. Then came Kakashi, who was Kainai's opponent. Like Uchiha Itachi, he also vaguely felt that Kainai had not done his best, although he had not done it either. The third was Uchiha Itachi. Finally, all the Anbu directly under the Hokage raised their hands to show their agreement. Just kidding. Since the Hokage has agreed, if they still disagree, wouldn't it be uncomfortable? What's more, Kainai's qualities in all aspects are indeed worthy of the title of Jonin. Especially in terms of illusion, it is enough to give most people present a headache. Also raising their hands were Utatane Koharu and Mitokado En. These two have always been the ones who follow the wind, and Kainai's promotion to Jonin, and then undercover in Uchiha are also in their interests. Naturally, they will not oppose something that is beneficial and harmless. As for Danzo, contrary to everyone's expectations, he who always likes to sing the opposite tune of the third Hokage did not object this time, but raised his hand with a gentle face to show his agreement. This surprised most of the people who knew him. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded with satisfaction, and said with a smile, okay, in that case, then Kainai, congratulations. From today on, you officially become a member of Konoha's Jonin. Keep up the good work, and so does Kyuubi, who can teach such an excellent illusion ninja like Kainai. The word special can be removed. Thank you, Lord Hokage. Kyuubi knelt on one knee to Sarutobi Hiruzen, and Kainai naturally would not kneel, and simply activated the mirror flower water moon, to make a kneeling gesture towards Sarutobi Hiruzen. Looking at the pious expressions of the two, Sarutobi Hiruzen's smile on his face became more and more intense, waved his hand, and signaled them to stand up, and continued, Kainai, although you have become a Jonin, your means of attack are still too simple. Regarding this, Kakashi, I will give you a day off tomorrow, take the time to guide him. Not long after, Kainai and Kakashi agreed on a training location. Then he put on the newly received Jonin vest, and left the Death Forest with Kyuubi. The two strolled on the street. Kyuubi was still wearing a bandage outfit. He was in his prime, and didn't like this style of combat clothing. Kyuubi, where did you learn the heart beheading technique and shadow clone? Kyuubi finally asked the question in her heart, because she had never taught Kyuubi these. I asked Quan to find it for me. Kyuubi half-truthfully said this secret that was not a secret. In fact, the heart beheading technique, the simplest earth escape ninjutsu, was obtained by Kyuubi on the day he was promoted to Genin. It was a spring when everything revived, and the earth showed a vibrant vitality. Kyuubi rarely stayed at Uchiha Kwan's house. The two of them once slept on the bed and the other on the ground, and then woke up the next day. Kyuubi found that Uchiha Kwan was sleeping in his arms, thus triggering the Lali control option 1. Kiss Uchiha Kwan, and reward the earth escape heart beheading technique 2. 1 step to the stomach, act as a beast, starting from 3 years, the highest death penalty, and reward the complete ghost way of the world of death 3. Do nothing, wake up directly, become something worse than a beast, and reward Chio Grandma underwear. As a result, there is no doubt that Kainai chose 1. It's really that Uchiha Izumi is too young. He was only 11 years old at the time. How could I, Fuji, do it? At least he should be over the legal age, right? Uchiha. Yuhi Kuronoi suddenly realized, and then seemed to think of something, and reminded, learn popular ninjutsu such as shadow clone and heart beheading technique, but remember not to learn the unique ninjutsu of the Uchiha family, otherwise, they are likely to cause trouble for you. And at this point, Yuhi Kuronoi hesitated, and glanced around from the corner of her eyes. Seeing that no one was paying attention to this side, he used a voice that only the two of them could hear and reminded softly, I know that you and a little girl from the Uchiha family are childhood sweethearts, but now the relationship between the Uchiha clan and the village is very tense. Remember not to have too much contact with the Uchiha people. Han, are you concerned about me? Kuronoi paused, his pair of deep black eyes staring at her with undisguised appreciation and ambiguity. The two looked at each other, and Zirihung's red lips slightly opened, wanting to say something, but she couldn't open her mouth. Her pretty face turned red in an instant, and finally swallowed it along with her breath. PS. First update, please recommend and vote for the monthly ticket. Thank, for the reward of 1500 starting coins. Chapter 24, Sarutobi Asuma's head is green. This was the umpteenth time Kuronoi had flirted with her. At first, Kuronoi didn't care much, thinking it was just a prank between little ghosts, but as Kuronoi became more mature, in the process of carrying out missions again and again, he stood in front of her. Quietly, this inexperienced girl, whose heart had been sealed for many years because of her father's death, actually began to melt. Just when Kuronoi was at a loss, a mellow voice came from afar. Hi Han. Kuronoi was startled, as if a thieving cat was discovered. Her pretty face instantly turned red, avoiding Kuronoi's gaze, and looking for the sound, only to see three young men wearing Konoha's Jonin vests walking over. The leader looked somewhat similar to the third Hokage, with a cigarette in his mouth, puffing out smoke. There were two young men following behind him. One of them was wearing a green bodysuit, with a forehead protector tied around his waist, a watermelon-shaped head on his head, thick eyebrows, and shouting slogans of youth from time to time. At first glance, he was a muscular and simple-minded type. The other one was slightly more normal than the first two. In terms of appearance alone, he was a rare handsome guy, but he looked a little sloppy. The ninja forehead protector was embedded in the headscarf, wrapped around the head in reverse, and he had a senbon in his mouth from beginning to end, looking awesome. They were the Konoha ninjas of the same generation as Kuronoi Yuhi and Kakashi, Sarutobi Asuma, my guy, and Shirano Genma. It looks like your friend is here, so we'll see you in the evening. Kuronoi glanced at the three people, and immediately guessed their identities in his heart. He bowed to Kuronoi Yuhi, and without staying too long, he performed the instant body technique, and disappeared from Kuronoi Yuhi's vision. At this time, Sarutobi Asuma and the other two rushed over. Han, is that guy also a Jonin from Konoha? Why haven't I seen him before? Asuma Sarutobi looked at the place where Chiya disappeared with a bad face, frowned slightly, and asked as if nothing had happened. Kuronoi Yuhi said oh and answered absent-mindedly, he is the student I told you about, Fujiwara Chiya, who just took the test, and has now been promoted to Jonin by the Hokage. Knowing that the other party was Kuronoi Yuhi's student, Asuma Sarutobi's brows relaxed slightly, and he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, secretly rejoicing that it seemed that he had thought too much. How could Kuronoi have a boyfriend so soon? So young. Jonin. Shirano Genma was stunned, his eyes widened instantly, and his face showed disbelief. Hey, is this true? He is less than 12 years old? Are the kids nowadays so scary? Kakashi was promoted to Jonin at the age of 12. You know, even he himself is just a special Jonin. And Kuronoi Yuhi was also promoted to a special Jonin a year ago. As a result, it took less than a year to train a Jonin. This is too unbelievable. My guy, who suffers from face blindness, was confused and asked dully, who is Tingyun? Chiya. That's a fact, whether you believe it or not. Kuronoi ignored the stubborn might guy and sighed. In short, Chiya's strength has indeed surpassed me. Doesn't that mean that he was promoted to Jonin earlier than you, the teacher? Shirano Genma showed a playful smile. Sorry, Genma, not long ago, the Hokage also promoted me to Jonin, so in our generation, only you and Ebisu, Hizuli Tong, and I Uchiha are at the special Jonin level. Kyuubi said proudly. Nani? Hearing this, Shirano Genma was instantly petrified. Huh? Is your disciple really that powerful? Sarutobi Asuma tried to find a topic with Han. His opponent in this assessment is Kakashi. You will know if he is strong or not by asking Kakashi later. Kyuubi said, by the way, why are you guys so free today? Is there anything you want to talk to me about? The three of us just came back from a mission, and Asuma wants to invite you to a party tonight. Might Guy said the purpose of this trip in a careless manner. Hey, Guy. Asuma Sarutobi blushed, glared at my guy, and then cast an expectant look at Kyuubi. Is that so? Kyuubi suddenly realized she did not think much about it. At this moment her mind was full of the scene when Kainai flirted with her not long ago. She took a deep breath and replied, sorry, I already have an appointment. I have an appointment with a few students to celebrate Kainai's promotion to Jonin in the evening next time. After that, Kyuubi turned her back to the three people, made a goodbye gesture, and slowly disappeared at the end of the street. Only Might Guy with a dull face was left, and Asuma Sarutobi was dejected after being rejected by Kyuubi, and Genma Shirano was petrified by Kyuubi's words. The speed of information transmission is often very fast. Under the promotion of Konoha, the news that Kainai was promoted to a Jonin in an exceptional way soon spread through the streets and alleys of Konoha, and was known to the villagers. In order to flatter Kainai, so that he could be more valued by the Uchiha high-level officials, the Konoha high-level officials also created a name for Kainai, the Phantom God, based on his proficiency in illusion, and called him an illusion ninja who is expected to rival Uchiha Shisu. It can be said that in order to create momentum for Kainai, no effort has been spared. Of course, Kainai didn't know all this. Even if he knew, Kainai wouldn't care. With his understanding of Sarutobi Hiruzen, it was nothing more than letting him use his relationship with Uchiha Izumi to monitor the Uchiha clan and act as an undercover. As for that old man Danzo, the reason why he supported me so much to be promoted to Jonin this time was, if nothing unexpected happened, he was flattering me. This is a person who has never known what trust is. He is willing to sacrifice everything to protect Konoha in his own way and principles. He always talks about ninjas need to sacrifice themselves, but when it is his turn, he can't do it. He thinks about how to become Hokage every day. To put it bluntly, he is afraid of death, and has a strong desire for fame and fortune. Since Kainai and Uchiha Izumi developed a bond, Danzo has been branded with a label of distrust in his heart. When the night of the Uchiha clan extermination, Kainai has lost his usefulness, and then it will be the time of reckoning. He will wipe out everyone related to Uchiha. This is the case with Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke in the original work, and Kainai is also the same. If Uchiha Itachi had not killed the two root ninjas responsible for attacking him and threatened to leak Konoha's information to the enemy country, I'm afraid that the second pillar would have died long ago, or he would have been trained as a killing tool of the root. Where did the famous scenes of competing with Itachi in illusion, playing with the eight tails and swordplay, competing with the Raikage in lightning escape, and comparing eyes with Uchiha Madara come from? Although he got beaten every time. PS. Second update. Please recommend and vote for me. Chapter 25. Sunset Red Drunk. In the evening, after Kainai picked up Uchiha Izumi and went home, he came to the Zayazen BBQ restaurant on time to keep the appointment. After a conversation, Kainai found that he had thought too much. This Zayazen is not that Zayazen, and Zayazen is not a so-called young stepfather. They are really just a very ordinary father and daughter. But it is true that Ailey has a sister. Her sister did not become a ninja, but chose to help in the BBQ restaurant. Although her name is also Akatsuki Erina. As for Ailey's mother, she is a ninja of Konoha. She has been wandering outside all year round. She is mainly responsible for the protection of the daimyo's wife and rarely goes home. After dinner, everyone went back to their own homes and looked for their own mothers. Akimichi Pangsi filled his stomach and went back contentedly. Akatsuki Ailey stayed in the store to help his family. As for Kainai, he was being pulled by Yuhi Kyonoi to accompany him for a drink. Yes, Yuhi Kyonoi was drunk. She always liked to drink late, Perhaps because Kainai was about to leave the team, she drank a little more and became drunk. Hey, Kainai-kun. Time flies so fast. In a blink of an eye, you will become a jonin. You have grown into a handsome man, not like a 12-year-old kid at all. Zahihan held the wine glass in one hand and gently stroked Kainai's face with the other hand. His delicate face, wrapped in a blush, became more beautiful and charming under the rendering of the light. Just as Zahihan said, Kainai has indeed grown a lot taller. Because of the long-term absorption of natural energy by practicing Shiangangju, he is only 12 years old, but his height has reached 1.7 meters. The childish color on his face has almost completely faded, and he has grown up completely. Teacher Hong, you are drunk. Kainai took a sip of tea, feeling a little helpless. If it were usual, facing Zahihan, this great beauty, he would definitely not be able to resist teasing her and taking advantage of her. After all, who is not a man? But now there is less than a year left before the night of the Uchiha clan extermination. By then, for Quan, he will definitely leave. There is nothing worth lingering here. If you get entangled with Hong, it will only bring trouble to the other party. At least during the reign of the third generation, you can't have too much entanglement with Yuhi Kyuubi. After all, Konoha F4 is very cunning. Mitara Shianko is a living example. Since Orochimaru defected, she was almost tortured crazy by the Konoha interrogation department. This is why, in the past 6 months, he has only been getting along with them as an ordinary team member. You are really unkind. I'm not drunk. Yuhi Kyuubi let go of Kainai, pouted her red lips, drank a glass by herself, then slammed the table, and complained with the help of alcohol. Oh, I really want to fall in love. I'm so beautiful, and have a good figure. Why is no one willing to chase me? Speaking of this, Yuhi Kyuubi did not forget to pout her red lips and secretly glanced at Kainai. Seeing that the other party was still unmoved, she immediately mustered up the courage, and seemed to press her whole body against Kainai, bringing a gust of fragrant wind. Hey, Kainai-kun. You say. Feeling the softness of Zahihan's body, as well as the faint body fragrance, and the faint smell of wine in the air, Kainai couldn't help but blush and answered. Do you really like the teacher? Zahihan's mouth corners slightly raised, and the two bodies pressed closer. Everyone has a love of beauty. The teacher is so beautiful, who would not like it? Kainai said frankly. Really a cunning kid. Zahihan's pretty face blushed and avoided Kainai's sight. She repeated a sentence, then leaned close to Kainai's ear and exhaled a breath of alcohol. Actually, it's not impossible. While speaking, she actually closed her eyes and leaned her red lips towards Kainai. At this moment, Kainai's mind rang with a long-lost system prompt. Ding. Congratulations to the host for triggering the Lolita control option 1. Kiss Zahihan. Reward Rasengan. 2. Half-heartedly, Overlord holds a hard crossbow, rewarded with thunder release. Chidori 3. Dodge, rewarded with water from the mother and child river. Please choose. Kainai. This choice is a bit too exciting. Although it is indeed quite good, the second one is definitely not an option. It is illegal, and I'm not old enough. But forget the first one. Let's die. Today I, Fuji, will give away my first kiss of the day. Here comes Mr. Hong's favorite mustard octopus. Just as their lips were about to touch, it was said that it was too late, and Akatsuki Ali walked in with a plate. Zahihan was startled, and the wine sobered up instantly, and Kainai subconsciously dodged. Ali, listen to me, things are not what you think. The three looked at each other. Zahihan wanted to explain, but Kyuubi Ali said, sorry, I seem to have disturbed you too. You continue. As she spoke, Kyuubi Ali slapped her forehead, made a cute gesture, covered her mouth, and left with a snicker. Before leaving, she did not forget to give Kainai a meaningful look. As if to encourage him, she made a cheering gesture. Only Zahihan and Kainai were left staring at each other. Zahihan turned her face away, not daring to look at Kainai again, but she still looked at Kainai from the corner of her eyes from time to time. Perhaps because of the effect of alcohol, or because of shyness, her face became redder, and even her neck was stained with a layer of crimson. She covered her forehead, feeling annoyed in her heart. Why did she say such shameful words, and almost kissed her own student? At this moment, the system prompt sounded in Kainai's mind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the water of the Zimu River. Finally, it's not underwear anymore. Kayanai's mouth twitched fiercely, looked at Zirihang, and then looked at Kyuubi who was hiding outside the box and peeking, and sighed. Teacher Hang, you are drunk, I will take you home. As he said, he stood up and stretched out his right hand to Zirihang. Oh, okay. Zirihang stood up with a blushing face, not daring to look at Kayanai, but still held Kayanai's hand. Kayanai's palm was very warm, which made her feel at ease. Then neither of them spoke again. Kayanai said hello to Kyuubi and walked out of the barbecue restaurant with Zirihang on his back. Zirihang's home is in the prosperous area of Konoha, and Kayanai has been there once. Following the route in his memory, he quickly sent her back home. He took off his shoes, put her on the bed, boiled hot water, and cleaned the house. Finally, he gave her a simple wash. Just as Kayanai was about to leave, Zirihang appeared and grabbed his sleeve. Thank you. It's okay. Are you feeling better now? Kayanai poured her a glass of boiled water. Yeah, much better. Zirihang nodded, took the cup of water, but didn't drink it. She said hesitantly about what happened at the barbecue restaurant before PS. First update. Please recommend and vote for me. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.